Stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895. 800-826-9895.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aww. He just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Vamos a tener mucha diversión.
And that means we're going to have so much fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Whether you like fishing together or fishing to get away, for the thrill of reeling in a big one, or just going out to have a good time, on the banks of your local pond, at a bend in a river, or on one of our many lakes and reservoirs, you'll always find the perfect place to cast a line. Here, beneath Nebraska skies. Start planning your next fishing adventure today at letsfishnebraska.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you could sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE.
When you can find everything you need at prices you can afford, that's totally Target. It's that feeling when quality Good and Gather ingredients on the barbecue bring family around the table. Or when favorite day after practice snacks let you celebrate the whole team for less. It's when saving more on Up and Up sunscreen means more fun in the sun. And when Target Circle Rewards program gives you more perks on what you buy most and is always free to join, that's totally Target.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees. 1620 The Zone.
And now the 2-2 from Williams. Talkman lines one down the left field line. That is a base hit. 2 runs are going to score. And Talkman goes to second with a double. The ball game is tied 3-3. Mike Talkman delivered.
The 1-0. And Diaz belts it deep to left field, and you can kiss that one goodbye. Off the community leader signs for Yiner Diaz. 1-0 Astros. Number 9 for Yiner.
Here's the 0-1. And this one's driven. Left field. Another one. Diaz second home run and third RBI. And he is dangerous. Every time in the box, you better make a good pitch. Astros up 3-0. First pitch from Anderson, and he drills it to right field. Still going. Palacalle Pena. 5-0. High arcing fly ball to right field. The other way for Pena.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Good morning, everybody. What is going on outside? So driving in today on this Thursday, just remind yourself that it is Thursday because you're all screwed up this week.
Yeah, no, I'm in Tuesday mode right now.
But what is going on? It's July 6th. We're supposed to be sweating. We're supposed to have swamp ass.
Yeah.
And there are people that are walking and running in hoodies and jackets.
Yep.
It's like fallish outside.
No, it is. It's like two-a-day weather.
That means we're going to have 90-something
But not
degrees
Texas
in
two-a-day
October.
weather. That's what I always felt like that first morning practice when it was like, still early and the sun's just coming up and you're dreading it, but you're a little chilly. You're going to be warm that day, but you're a little chilly. That's what it's like right now.
It's cool. It's like beautiful outside.
It is.
Jimmy, you got an issue already?
I think they fixed the mic,
My mic's found and my headset sounds really weird.
but we're live.
Yeah.
We're not on delay.
I don't know how I sound.
So you guys sound great.
Okay, I'm glad I sound good through yours because it sounds like
I'll leave the technical stuff to you guys.
Yeah, this sounds like a tin can.
I'll just provide the humor. I'll sit over here and
Sound fine.
talk about people shooting fireworks on July 5th.
Yeah.
But the weather is like fantastic this morning. I'm no meteorologist. I'm no, White Al Roker. But I would say get out and enjoy it this morning.
A top 10 day if you want.
That I think Channel 7 is already calling it a top 10 day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
No
Welcome in.
fearmonger.
Welcome in, everybody.
There's no way to like paint a dark cloud over
Hey,
this one.
Hey, we
Melanoma knows no off days.
we watch her a lot. I think today she was like giddy.
Okay.
She was like, oh, this is
finally
a top 10 day.
It finally hits the spot.
It's going to be in the
Dog's paws will
70s.
be okay.
Yep.
I think she even said, open up the house.
Oh,
Turn off
open
the air
window.
conditioning.
Open windows.
Open doors,
Oh.
open windows. Crime will be on the rise.
Wow.
No, so I think she's all in on this is a big, like, nice day in Omaha.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We finally provided.
So what it will help out though, so we had July 4th fireworks, and I mean, who's kidding ourselves? We're gonna have July 5th fireworks like we had last night in my neighborhood. It's like somebody got back home from vacation and realized, oh man, I missed it.
Or
And
they
so-
looked in their garage like, oh, I still have these. Well, got to shoot these off.
Start shooting off all the fireworks. Don't you guys think it's fair game if you're in a neighborhood where yesterday was another firework day, that you should be up at 7 a.m.
Mowing your
lawn
Yep.
or weed whacking?
Yes.
That's a fair trade-off, right?
I agree. I mean, especially if you got a big day in front of you, it's nice out. You want to take advantage of it early on? Heck yeah. Be like, I'm sorry. You guys were exceeding past 11 on Tuesday night. So I'm going to go ahead and now, is it an actual ordinance that you're not supposed to, start that stuff till 8 or past 8? Or is it like baseball? Is it an unspoken rule? Is it kind of bush league? Like you could get one in the ear hole if you go at like 7:30.
Don't you live in a gated community? Don't you guys have laws?
Not in a gated community. Far from it. I feel like, again, nothing. We don't even have an HOA. So there you go. We don't even have an HOA. So we don't
saving.
I don't have someone
$53 a month.
Well, I don't have someone putting a sign in my yard saying you need to grow a damn tree right here, or someone knocking on my door saying, we got a complaint that you were mowing at 7:45 a.m. So I think, I don't know if that's a city ordinance, but I just feel like it's unspoken rule.
I think of the landscaping guys at my place, and I'm never home at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. I think the landscaping guys do start early. So if I was somebody that worked like the afternoon shift, I might be a little bit upset. But I think it's fair game. If you're in a neighborhood where last night was another firework night, you should be up right now because it's light outside. You should be mowing your lawn.
Yep.
And
Take that.
And if anybody, calls the authorities on you, say fair game. Life is fair.
Did you say, what were you doing last night? I think that is fair.
This is what I was
It's
doing.
not even a Richard move. It's kind of an eye for an eye type
At
thing.
11:30, I'm thinking the guy around the corner has a boombox out in the street, and he is setting off fireworks to a choreographed mixtape. Da-na-na-na-na-na. All right, welcome in everybody on a Thursday. Jimmy, you're over there like aggressively texting. I get
No, I'm
worried
not-
when somebody is aggressively texting at 6:15.
I'm not texting.
Something going
I'm
on in
just-
the household?
No. I'm checking the board to make sure everything's okay. Because
Oh.
now you guys got me paranoid that something's wrong.
Well, no, my there's something up with my mic. I sound completely like overmodulated. But if it's not sounding that way through you guys, then
You sound okay. He sounds better.
okay.
Hey,
Well,
thank you.
that's typically how it. That's I
Hey.
mean that's no different than any other
Went
day.
went
but
outside and smoked a pack of Marlboros
Yeah.
before the show. I should
Hey.
smell good.
I just have
No,
a very,
no,
I have a
no
very,
texting.
I have
Too
a very
early.
tinny, like tin ringing as I talk. It's like tss, 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 every time I'm talking. So
Hey, but we're on. So yeah.
That's all that
Continue.
matters. We're
Yeah.
here for our listeners on the
if this is
6th
the
of,
worst thing that happens
July.
today, I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
If something were
Yes.
actually wrong, my phone would be ringing right now, and it's not.
Yep.
All right, well, coming up, we have a good show today. Rob Childress is going to stop by at 8 o'clock. So Rob, who now has the title of pitching coach at Nebraska, he did a little media gathering right after it was announced. This is the first long-form interview. We got questions for one of my favorite people in all of sports, Rob Childress, Nebraska's pitching coach. Is coming up at 8. Steve Sipple stops by at 8:30, and then Brian Edwards at 9:45, who has his Phil Steele in hand. The college football season does not begin for Brian Edwards until Phil Steele is in his hands, and he can study.
And he's had a good, solid, almost week with it.
I would think so.
Mm-hmm.
Connor asked you,
You speed read through that?
no, oh, you can't.
You got to digest.
No. Connor asked a question yesterday I thought about as I was looking at a couple of Big Ten previews yesterday, is do you ever read every page?
No, I've never have.
I think I make it a goal. I might not read, but I make it a goal to go through every page because
Scan.
I've gone through stretches where I buy magazines like sports magazines, preview magazines, and sometimes don't open them at all. And they just sit on
They're
the
there.
coffee table and they look really good and they make me look really smart.
Because it's the same thing when you take video of the fireworks. You have every intention of looking at it at some point, but it's like, it's just not working in the schedule yet.
Yeah,
but there's going to be a time that I know I'm going to be bored or have some downtime and I'm going to look at this thing. So it needs to stay right there. And then a year goes by.
Yeah, I'm not treating Phil Steele like I treated my textbooks in college, where they don't open. I'm like, oh my God, the new book smell is still there.
Yeah.
How is that possible? The
Smells
lineup
like
is
learning.
brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Nick, Jimmy, and Gary here for you. In the highlights, you heard, I don't know, as a Cub fan, should I take some joy in the fact that the St. Louis Cardinals are now 35-51.
Hell yes.
And they scored 9 runs last night, but they gave up 10 and just an unbelievable finish for the Miami Marlins, who won their 51st game.
Yeah.
With the winning run scored from first base on an error by the pitcher Jordan Hicks.
And crowd actually looked somewhat excited about it too.
Hey, Fish Fever.
They're getting some people there.
You know, they've
That's
got
a
a
t-shirt
good
I'm
young
wearing.
team. They're trying to market them, except for when they have Bark in the Park and fireworks on the same night. But the Marlins are like a fun team.
Yeah.
We talked about them last week, and you don't know who's who.
Yeah, who are these effing guys?
But I was thinking, like, listening to the highlights, and I watched the end of that game last night, and I thought the Cardinals, who got off to a rough start, would come back and win that game, but they absolutely melted down. Their pitching is atrocious. They can't win one-run games. I wonder if Ollie Marmol is going to survive. Isn't it odd and kind of like, I don't know, jarring when teams that you grew up following, whether they're your team or not, all of a sudden are bad? Like, I think about what was so jarring about the 2002 season for Nebraska football was the uniforms, but then you weren't used to a team being bad that has been good
getting
for so
blown
long.
out.
Like, I'm not used to the Cardinals being this atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, the state of Missouri is 53 games under 500. One of
I
those
like that.
teams is not supposed to be that bad.
Right.
But the Cardinals being bad is jarring. I'm not used to Cardinal baseball being this poor. I think about like Alabama football. When Alabama football has a rare off year, we're not used to them being poor.
Like a rare off year is like 4 losses.
Kentucky basketball.
Yes. Not making the tournament. It's like, what?
Even like the Lakers, the
Yeah.
Packers.
Yeah, when they had the 60
See, and
loss
I'm with
season.
you on the Packers because growing up as a Bears fan in 18 when Chicago won the division, and I've never gone into a game in my lifetime that I can remember where Chicago, like, they're going to win today. Like, they're just going to win.
That's
Just not how you're supposed to feel.
Lindy Infante era.
In the one of the last games of the regular season, they played them in Chicago to wrap up the division. And I mean, I don't even know, it wasn't that big of a blowout, but Chicago just owned them. And Green Bay was really bad that year. I think they only won like 6 or 7 games that year. That was weird to me, but it was a one-year thing because then they were back at it again the following year. Like, to see them in a stretch would be kind of similar to what you're watching with the Cardinals right now. To like watching them like, wow, they're really this bad. Oh, wait, that helped. Oh, no. When you did something, it helped my anyway. Yeah, that. Now I sound normal.
Okay, so
I think your mic off improves.
It's fine though. I can deal with
They
it.
fixed the mic yesterday,
but they didn't fix the mic. But they didn't fix the mic. But anyway, yeah, it is like for you as a Cubs fan, like last night, you should revel in that because
I didn't have the money line, so that also helps my revelry.
Because I know even if the Packers were having a good year, if they lose a game in that type of fashion where it's a snowball fight, I mean, it's an absolute clown show to lose the game like that on just an airmail. I mean, that's I'll get into the whole pitching aspect there too, but it's funny. I mean, they could be 20 games above 500. They lose like that. It's just like, what? Really? Just a simple throw, comebacker, just make the throw and go.
Oh, I chuckled.
As soon as it comes out of his hand, you're like, oh, no.
I chuckled because the Cubs were down 3-1 in Milwaukee last night. And when they've trailed by multiple runs in the 9th inning, they've lost 112 straight games. And they won yesterday. And the winning run, Tauchman scored on an error by the Brewers, and then the bullpen shut them down in the bottom of the ninth. So I enjoyed last night of baseball even more. But just seeing the Cardinals be bad is really, really jarring.
Not since Joe Torre was the manager, probably. It's about 30 years.
I saw a lot of social media reaction from both Cubs and Cardinals fans last night of like, they've been bad all year, but when you had that moment where you take the lead in the top of the ninth and then you lose it like that in the bottom of the ninth, I saw a lot of Cubs fans chirping, and I saw a lot of, to their credit, and I only know a couple Cardinals fans, they were taking it. They were gladly like, I wish I could say something back, but I can't right now. That was a bad look.
I don't want to pile on, but if you look at the home run derby field that was announced yesterday, there are 3 former Cardinal farmhands that are in the home run derby that did not play for the Cardinals. Rosarina, Garcia, and then Robert. I just point that out. The 0-2 football season around here was jarring. You had not seen that program be that poor. Another one that sticks out. Remember the second year in the Big East after Doug had moved on, and how bad Creighton was. Like Creighton, that's the worst team that Mac has had at Creighton, and they were 5 games under 500, and they were a really, really bad team. And they'd had a stretch where Death Taxes and Creighton's winning probably 20 games, and then that 14-15 season, they were 14-19.
Yeah, that was a transition year, if you will. But kind of like what I mentioned with the Packers in 2018. That was an offshoot. That was a one-off. That wasn't like sign of things to come. Like, I am really fascinated where the Cardinals. I mean, this is what the sad thing is. Here we're entering the All-Star break. As a Cardinal fan, did you already think you'd be talking about the following season? Did you already think about like, okay, what does the future look like here?
Well, the Cardinals being sellers.
Exactly. Yes.
That's not supposed to happen. Nope. Remember, St. Louis fans will tell you that is America's best city for baseball. I don't know if you guys have heard that or not. Yeah, they will tell you it's the best city for baseball.
Best fans, yep.
Cincinnati will tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
Here's how I judge if you're a good fan base or not.
When you don't claim that.
There you go.
You shouldn't have to claim
exactly.
It, right?
Yeah, act like you've been there. You're like,
I'm a great person.
Like if you're a good program, you don't bring up the fact that you're worried that Ohio State's going to take over your stadium, Notre Dame.
Exactly. You have confidence. You don't need to say anything. You're like, yep, I have confidence and faith that we will be there.
But isn't the judgment of that just went away? Nope.
Oh no, that didn't. It's okay, Jimmy. I can get through.
Isn't the judgment? I think about this with our friends that were wearing purple and gold that invaded our city not too long ago in LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the sign of a fan base if you are still there when they're bad?
Yep.
There's a lot of people that take knocks at Nebraska football fans.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska football fans, for the most part, have stayed pretty loyal through this Sahara.
Yes.
They haven't gone away. They maybe not are as engaged as much as they used to be, but they haven't quit for the most part on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they hang around and they still go to the games when the team has been bad. That's the sign of a really, really good fan base.
Yeah.
And there will be some that will come back, and we will know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You will wear a scarlet letter.
You'll probably be louder than most, but that's just.
But LSU baseball fans, they're not in Omaha every year, and they'd gone through that little bit of a drought. They hadn't won a title since 2009 until a couple of weeks ago. LSU baseball fans are still there with them, thick and thin.
Mm-hmm. Does this? I don't expect a good fan base, like a quality fan base, to do this. But when you show up to the actual national championship tournament or game and your team's not involved, like LSU fans will do when LSU has not made the College World Series, they are. I mean, that's at another level. This was a few years back. It was when LSU wasn't here, and we were having this conversation. I remember wondering, do Nebraska fans ever have the itch to just show up to the national championship game wearing Nebraska gear and stuff? Just,
great,
a little LSU-ish.
Great question. When Nebraska was in the Big Ten championship,
mm-hmm.
we were walking in downtown Indianapolis, and I think all of us in our group were observing all the other fan bases that were in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Nebraska and Wisconsin fans. There were a lot of Ohio State fans.
Okay.
And those people may think, hey, we're going to the Big Ten championship every year, so we might as well buy tickets.
Yep. And then they're like, what else are we going to do this weekend?
But there were other fans from Big Ten schools, Michigan.
Okay.
Maybe a mixture of Iowa. I don't know. I don't know if the Nebraska football fan continues to go to Indianapolis when they're not playing.
Yeah.
Like maybe you do, but are you required to wear the gear?
I see. If I were,
are you just asking for it? If
I
if
feel
your
like you
team's
kind of
not
are
playing and you go to an event, and you're wearing the gear.
I'm never going to talk badly about someone who decides to do that. I personally wouldn't, because yes, I know what I'm opening myself up to. Now, the national championship game though is kind of. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. It kind of is more of a Super Bowl feel. It's more of a corporate feel. So I don't feel like the College World Series has a real college, sort of, fan base. We welcome all. It's a college feel to it, even though it is at the corporate cookie cutter that you like to refer to it as. But it does have still a little bit more college charm to it. I don't feel like the national championship game now being in the huge stadiums and it just doesn't feel like it has that sort of college feel. So I don't know if that's as endearing to opposing fan bases that have, nothing to do with that national championship game. So maybe there was a time when Nebraska wasn't playing in the national championship game, like BCS era, maybe they would show up to the national championship game wearing some Husker stuff. Now, I don't know if it's even worth it.
Super Bowl, you see
everything.
Maybe not inside of the stadium, but I know the couple of times I've gone to the Fan Fest, everybody wears their gear.
Yeah, it's like draft day.
Exactly.
It's draft day because it's the event. And then once you get to get inside, it's like, okay, well, I got to have a real rooting interest, or I got to have a pretty damn good portfolio.
Well, we're about to find out how good a fan base the Cardinals are, because they're bad. They're 35-51. And will they continue to go to games? Because they have done a great job of packing Busch for the most part.
We'll see how they are and see how that place is looking in September.
That was ugly last night.
Because that's the one thing I will give Cubs fans every day of the week is, for as bad as that organization and just frustrating as that organization had been for, decades. You still get there in September, and bleacher tickets could be tough to get. I mean, maybe September's the best time to go if you're wanting to get a good deal on bleacher tickets. But I mean, for the most part, you're still seeing a lot of people at that stadium.
I appreciate the love for Cubs fans, but Wrigley Field still has the lure of, I just got to go to Wrigley Field.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's just the place to be.
The diehards. Yeah. Now, there are some, April and September, you can get some small crowds, not like they used to have in the past. Because I remember coming home from school and there'd be 12,000 people, in the stands. You'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's noticeable
Yeah.
there.
All right. Welcome in, everybody.
How are we doing over there, Jimmy?
No, this ain't going to go well. That ain't going to go well.
Okay. I whatever he
Hey,
had going before,
hey,
I could deal with it. It was fine.
What we need to do, because let's be honest, he's not up right now. The person that gets the most upset with the producer, Mike, is Odson.
Yep.
So don't tell him that it is broke.
Because that'll make for a really good crossover.
Because I think he knows that they worked on it and they might have fixed it, and he'll come in and he'll be all excited.
Yeah.
And the first time it doesn't work, it will be just a complete meltdown.
There'll be some GDs.
He'll be calling up KFAB and going, "Hey, does my code still work?" If you'd like to join the conversation, the hotline brought to you by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house, 951-1620. We got lots to discuss on National Fried Chicken Day as well.
Okay.
We're all going to KFC, best fried chicken in Omaha, 951-1620. You can also email us into the Equitable Bank inbox. Gary at 1620thezone.com. Nick Handley.
Handley.
Oh, geez.
Twitter is at Nick Handley 1620. Email is Handley.
I'm going to let you handle that.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you're on Threads or not.
By the way, I did. So I wasn't on IG either. I had to get on IG last night to get on Threads.
Hey,
so
all right. You can
finally on
follow Libby
Instagram.
Dunn now.
I can.
Okay, here's my little thing on Threads.
Looks a lot like Twitter, by the way.
I also did the Threads last night. It's like the first day of school all over again.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like Google Plus.
Yeah, it's weird looking, but yeah, I mean, I could see where it's like it has the, it's got threads.
So 10 million people signed up for Threads in 7 hours. It took Twitter 780 days to get to 10 million. Zuckerberg, do not let us down, because if this doesn't work, and I haven't signed up yet because I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm observing. I'm trying to, listen to you guys that are on Threads to see what is going on. But
I'm not relying on it.
See, I don't have Instagram.
I don't either. I
so
just
was like,
joined.
okay, we're basically tying in Instagram and Twitter together to create Threads. But my first look at it in the beta was it looks like Google Plus, and then I looked at it again yesterday, and it gives the vibe of Google Plus, but there's like a lot of potential with it.
With the touch.
So I'm glad you guys are on there. So how do you give your thread where to find you?
See
we're everybody's still on Twitter, at least for today.
Yeah.
We're not on TweetDeck, which is just an abomination that you would destroy something like that is great for us in this business and for other corporations.
Yeah, now it's just
of organization.
Now it's drunk and it's chaos.
Oh, it's not just drunk. It's laying in the street.
Yeah. It's blackout.
So how do you give your threads where to find you on Threads? And maybe we have to have maybe Zuckerberg's got to change the name Threads.
Yeah.
It sounds
really
weird.
They had all that time, and that's what we had Pretzel. I liked Pretzel. It should have been Pretzel.
So you've seen the logo for Threads, right?
Yes.
It looks like a pretzel. Is that where you guys came up with this?
No, we were way ahead of the game.
So
the tech nerds.
The Threads logo does look like sort of a pretzel where they took a bite of the corner. So I was thinking of that last night when I downloaded the app.
Because it's the Meta logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this got like intertwining stuff.
I got a notification last night that one of my friend posted on Threads.
Intertwining. That's just in my head. It's just what it looked like and sounded like. Even though a logo can't make a sound really. Yeah. It was interesting. I was just kind of looking at the setup more than anything. And then I thought, you know what? I'll give this some time tomorrow. Meaning when I was setting it up last night. So tomorrow or today after the show, I'm just going to kind of go noodle with it. See what happens.
If you were an IG model, what are you on Threads?
I think you're just your name that you are on Instagram.
Yeah, so it's basically everything. Again, I am brand new at Instagram. I signed up on Instagram just so I could check out Threads. Thank you. And so whatever your profile pictures on Instagram is your profile picture on Threads, unless you want to manually change that. But you do have to give a bio like you do in Twitter. You could have links everything is exactly like Twitter as far as how you set up your Threads profile.
I refused to change my picture because I was 27 and I weighed about 40 pounds less. So
See, guys, I kind of went the D-bag route on this one.
Frosted tips?
No, I went with the.
Were you shirtless in front of?
No.
Taking a selfie.
I
with
didn't
a
go that
handgun?
route. No, but I did like the. Hey, I'm in sports, so I gotta have a sports picture of me
Thirst
interviewing
Trap Thursday with Nick Handley.
Yeah, of Vitalia. I had to. The good Chris Prudon took some really cool pictures of us down when we were doing our reporting, and so I used one of those pictures before LSU Tennessee because I'm in sports, so I got a picture of me in sports. I went that route. No, I didn't go like shirtless, or I didn't go like me looking off-centered, like into a sunset of like deep thinking. Like, what's that over there? Yeah, no, I didn't do anything like that. But
Just please, Zuckerberg.
it does. It looks like it could.
This can't fail.
It has
There's a lot of
potential.
hope, but we don't want to cry wolf. Everybody's keeping their Twitter account.
Yeah.
It didn't look all that clunky.
What
Here,
was
I'll pull this up
whatever
for you.
happened to Mastodon? Remember the last time Twitter was supposed to break? Everybody said, "Hey, I got a Mastodon profile. Come over to Mastodon."
Doesn't kind of look like a pretzel. So that's
See,
it.
Mastodon
That's
was a
correct.
great name. It also sounded like it was sinister, but that's
See, I got a Sports Illustrated thread said "Good Morning Threads," and it's got Grimace. See, yeah, that's fun.
do they still have the shake?
Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, right there. Yeah, it looks very Twitter-esque to me.
There are no DMs yet, so you can't slide in anything. Might be
Yeah,
for the best.
Yep, got none of that. But yeah,
And only the people you follow is on your timeline, correct?
yes.
Okay. So that's
No, not yet.
Well, so
That's just some random
I
crap on
did,
mine.
I did start mine in private because I wanted to see like what it's like before I like just do the full dive in. So these are the things that show up in my timeline are all, well, no, I take that back because I'm following Sports Illustrated, but I got this Adam P. Ferris, who's all over this thing.
Good morning, Adam.
Adam P. Ferris, who is somebody. I don't know who.
similar to Rosie 18 plus.
I don't know.
The porn bots have not gotten to Threads yet, but
Yeah.
I'm also curious how soon today before Threads is blocked on Twitter.
That's a good point.
Because everybody is telling, before Twitter falls apart and disappears, everybody's going on back to your Twitter account to tell, hey, this is my Threads.
Yeah.
Now, does Elon today say, not so fast, Zuckerberg?
You know what? You're actually right, Sharpie. It is the only ones that I've followed because even this Adam P. Ferris was a response from Sports Illustrated, and instead of retweeting, it's reposted. So and
It's
so
a thread.
reposted.
I just want Twitter
Yeah.
back circa 2010s.
Okay. Yeah.
Can we get that?
I just want Twitter deck to not
To where you can
make me
post
wanna
a
have a
tweet and
seizure.
you don't automatically get a blurred picture that says,
Yeah.
would you smash? I'm like, what? This is a wholesome tweet.
Oh, mine yesterday was, would you hit it?
Oh, that's another good one that you see all the time.
But see, guys, if in case you talked about the insiders. So I did follow Shefty on Threads. And
Woj is on it.
11 hours ago, he posted Commander Center, Chase Roullier, who started 63, 69 games while he was with Washington, announced today his retirement from the NFL after 6 seasons. So Shefty's on.
I noticed Woj and Shams because NBA free agency is still going on, and they went over there, but they did not quit Twitter.
Yeah.
If they quit Twitter, Twitter is done.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, 38 past the hour. Rob Childers coming up in about 90 minutes. Zip stops by. Also, Brian Edwards on this Thursday, the 6th of July. We'll get into a new edition of the NCHC.
Yeah.
And it happened at the end of our show.
It's exciting.
CBS Sports released the top 14 coaches in the Big Ten. They only released 14.
Why not 16? Are they forgetting 2 schools that are
Or
not there
20.
yet?
That'd be premature listing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to wait to see how what their Big Ten chops are like.
Ooh, Matt Rule, where he's at, where he's going, and is it a popularity contest or based on success? We'll discuss all of that as we roll till 10. The whole gang has assembled. Jimmy is double fisting the mics today.
Yep. That's just how it's going to be. I'll survive. I just want to see how this crossover goes because I don't think Josh is going to be very happy when he comes in and says, why is that mic there?
All right, he's starting to get up now, so we can't mention this anymore.
Good morning, Josh.
So
Beautiful day out there, 52 degrees.
Top 10 day.
On Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley.
Remember,
No matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Swift for Ted and Wally's Ice Cream, ultra premium ice cream. Of course, you can find it in the old market and in Benson as well, right next to Taste of New Orleans. One of the great things about Ted and Wally's is they work with local artisans. We're talking producers, farmers, and chefs to make sure they make the best ice cream for you. Over 3,000 unique flavors over 35 years. Ted and Wally's has ice cream for you. Call ahead, get yourself a half a gallon or maybe a quart so you have it at the house when you need some ice cream. And when you need ice cream, almost every single day. Swing by Ted and Wally's, whether it's in the old market, the original location, or in Benson, and grab yourself one of 3,000 flavors. And another thing about Ted and Wally's is they have keto-friendly ice cream. You're looking for an ice cream that's low fat? They have that as well. Whatever you're looking for when it comes to ice cream, they have a variety for you, including one of my favorites, just the plain old vanilla. Check out Ted and Wally's 2 locations in the old market and in Benson. And when you go, tell them Severe sent you.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. It is July, which means the countdown is on for the 6th annual 4-person Golf Flash Scramble. Go to their website today, miraclehillgolf.com/store, and get signed up. You do not want to miss it. Coming up Friday, August the 4th. It'll be a 1-beer Friday, 12 o'clock shotgun start, only $320 per team. Again, sign up today at that website, miraclehillgolf.com.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the sweet summer sale, June 30th through July 10th, and get 30% off paints and stains with prices starting at $31.14. That means 30% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 30% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, 6:43 on a Thursday morning. Not sure where this started yesterday, but late afternoon, I started to get hit up on Twitter. No thread, just
No
hit
threads.
up on Twitter.
Yeah.
A couple of text messages.
Old-fashioned.
Wondering, is Omaha men's basketball going to host Creighton at Baxter Arena? And I said, like a closed scrimmage? Because I know Creighton is playing Wayne State for their exhibition before the season begins. And this person said, no, they're in agreement to play a regular season game. And I said, Creighton at Omaha? And they said yes. And I said, you know what? I've had the Omaha men's basketball schedule for about 2 weeks. There's no Creighton on there. Now the women are playing Creighton and Nebraska, But that is not true wherever that started, that Creighton and Omaha are not playing men's basketball this year. For the first time since I've been doing the games, Omaha men's basketball has a more keep your head above water non-con schedule than they've ever had.
That's nice.
The bye games are Texas Tech, TCU, and I think North Texas is a bye game. So essentially 2.5 bye games. Now the home schedule is not the greatest because you lost Western Illinois and they had to do some adjusting.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the top non-con home game is Stetson. Whoa. Guys not a fan of the team from DeLand? Boy, you two on unison. Hold on.
I just thought like Stetson. And we're not even talking about the cologne.
That's what
my father's cologne.
So if you are a fan of
Isn't it the best a man can get?
Was it Stetson?
That was Gillette.
That was Gillette. Stetson, Gillette.
I just
Aquavelva.
Hey, I want you guys to put some respect on Stetson basketball. They were 17 and 14.
I just think it's funny that we both went there with the cologne. Stetson cologne.
Back in the day, all these game show hosts would show what they wore at the end of the show, and that was usually one of them.
Stetson. It was a cowboy with a lasso.
There's never been a team that has played in Baxter Arena with the nickname the Hatters.
Well, that's true. Now, if they were the Mad Hatters, even better.
If you like,
I'm okay with no.
If you like local non-Division I teams, you'll like Omaha's men's home schedule.
You know what I like for that? For a team that I will always root for is the fact that they can win some non-conference games. And that's, again, I understood the scheduling philosophy in the past. First and foremost, money.
I spent a lot of month of November and December on the road.
Oh yeah, I
don't know if I would say I understand it.
For all involved, I get that. But the money element of it, I understand that. There was an element, and I know when DH was there, and you know this better than I do, there was an opportunity to just sort of take on all comers, especially as you're new to Division I, and see if that is something that can sort of help as you get into conference play. As you've seen some of the very best in the country, the several trips to the Fog Allen Fieldhouse, going to Carver Hawkeye, going to Ames, Iowa, going to Hilton, whether we're talking about Midwest Powers or did they go to Arizona too? They went to Michigan State, right?
Michigan State, Arizona,
Yeah.
Arizona State,
Pretty much everywhere.
USC,
Never got Kentucky.
Washington, Oregon.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere. So there was a part of it where like, oh, hey, you know what? They're going to be battle tested. But there's also a conversation to be had of it can kind of break your confidence a little bit too. So I think there were different theories in trying to sort of break it down. The bottom line is you got paid. Athletic department got paid for it. But when you're rolling into conference play with maybe 3 wins under your belt, you always wonder how a team's going to respond. So when I look at, when I think of a more maneuverable schedule, I think of, okay, a team that can maybe stack a couple of wins, have a little more confidence rolling. You feel like you're jiving a little bit as you're going into conference play, which I think would be also a very welcome sight with this group.
Yeah, this schedule this year, and they're close to releasing it because they had to redo the Summer League schedule because Western Illinois dropped out, and you only have 9 teams, and they have to figure out the postseason. But the conference schedule is done. The non-con has been done. It does not include Creighton at Baxter Arena. It is a schedule that is more manageable to keep your head above water and also to pick up some wins and some confidence as you go into conference play.
Yeah.
It also will mimic, when people see this, what South Dakota State and Oral Roberts have done in terms of their non-con scheduling, where they are playing some non-D1s.
Yeah.
Brace yourself when you see that, but there is no Creighton on there. Now, I know Nebraska and Omaha played last year, and they did have a brief discussion about possibly playing again this year, and that did not go very far. And not because neither side didn't want to play. It just
didn't work out.
Take a year off.
Yeah.
And that's we'll see if that continues with Trev and Adrian and whatever they decide. But I think people enjoy Omaha and Nebraska playing each other.
So
but Nebraska's men's schedule, their scheduling philosophy is a little bit different this year. they've added some bye games.
Yeah.
And this is a year that
It's
you got
good.
to rack up some victories.
That's good. They need to. I think it's great. Now I'm assuming have had this conversation with Trev before too. When Trev was at Omaha, and I can't remember how we got into the conversation. It was before a game. It was non-conference wise, and him being a Cedar Falls guy understood the Iowa State, Northern Iowa, and then they played Drake, right? They'd have that 4-team. I think like Hy-Vee sponsored it, and he was always talking about why couldn't they do that with Omaha, Creighton, Nebraska, and then you bring in a 4th team.
Yep.
I'm curious if his philosophy has changed now that he is in Lincoln. And I'm not saying, I bet now that he's in Lincoln, he doesn't want to do that. I don't think that is the case with Trev.
You know what? I think it changed, Nick. A lot of Nebraska basketball's scheduling philosophy changed when they got their own arena. Not that they didn't have their own arena in the past, but the Devaney Center compared to PBA,
right?
There are so many other things you can do with PBA. Because before PBA was built, Nebraska basketball wanted to have more of a presence in Omaha. They wanted to schedule, they were going to have Adidas set up a TV game, a shoe TV game downtown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that they were going to do that every single year because they had a big arena. They wanted to be in Omaha.
Yeah.
And then they built their own quote unquote NBA arena.
Yeah.
And then it makes no sense for them to come to Omaha and play a non-con.
Right.
And where they could play it in their home building if they could get a home and home. Now, in terms of doing that little Big Four, it actually doesn't exist in Des Moines anymore, which is unfortunate because it was great for Northern Iowa and Drake. And you could see Iowa and Iowa State, and a fan could go to Wells Fargo Arena and watch all 4 Division I basketball programs in Iowa play on the same day. Now, Iowa men's basketball is doing a doubleheader with women's basketball in Des Moines this year. But in terms of that, and I thought that was a great idea, and I think it would be great here. Once Nebraska got their own arena, they're like, nah, we're good. We're good. And then you had the bracket buster fall apart.
Yeah.
I wish they'd bring that back.
That was fun.
That would help in Omaha scheduling.
Absolutely would.
Because from Omaha's standpoint, it is difficult to schedule. I mean, they do get one game. They get 2 games. They got a home and away with the Big Sky Challenge.
Yeah.
But it's difficult for Omaha to schedule to bring teams in here. They almost have to work with Creighton and Nebraska and piggyback. Hey, Florida A&M is playing in Lincoln on a Tuesday, or Florida A&M is playing downtown on a Tuesday. Maybe they can come to Baxter Arena and play on a Thursday.
Yeah.
It's kind of like baseball scheduling. I think
as you're stopping by, as you're passing through, you play
Evan, Ed, and Will have done a good job of sharing teams.
Yeah.
Where Penn State comes into town and they've got a Big Ten weekend series in Lincoln, but they're going to come in and play a Tuesday night game at Tal Anderson.
Yeah. Or Rutgers is making their way to Omaha, playing that weird weekend that they played Omaha when Rutgers was good a couple of years ago. And then I think they played Creighton in the midweek. So it's oh man, the bracket busters, those were fun. But and I was always curious if even when they did it in Iowa, if they ever like rotated or if it was always smack dab in Des Moines. And so it was always in Des Moines. And so I was always wondering if you could, rotate the arenas where you have it at CHI Health, then you have it at Pinnacle Bank Arena, or lo and behold, that 1 year, which would be an absolute circus. You pack everybody into Baxter, which would be cool. Because remember, John Cook did that, and he was all in about that volleyball tournament that they did at Omaha. And it was so cool. And he was so excited to bring that much attention and exposure to the Omaha volleyball product, not just Lincoln. And that was neat. I remember doing I think I did the Omaha Northern Iowa volleyball game, and Nebraska had either just played or they were playing after, and seeing the amount of people in there to watch a volleyball game in Baxter, and it was pretty damn cool. And then when Omaha played Nebraska, and that thing was almost packed. Like that was, I wanted to do that again. So I get it. Talking, apples and oranges here when we're talking about the crowds that you're trying to bring in, the amount of crowds and whatnot when it comes to men's Division I basketball. It's probably a tough sell to do that at Baxter, but to be able to rotate 1 year in Omaha and then 1 year in Lincoln, still something that I would always be curious if they've ever had any like initial conversations about kicking the tires on that.
I do know when they first opened Baxter, they were going after KU and Iowa State. So they wanted to open up the arena with a big splash. But the ticket price to your return on investment, because you'd have to pay KU.
Yeah.
Now, they approached Hoiberg when he was at Iowa State, and that got a little bit further than it did at KU. Dana Altman was also open to the idea of bringing Oregon into play at Baxter Arena, but you have to make a guarantee to those teams maybe do a 2-for-1, but there's got to be a financial agreement. What would the ticket price look to bringing them in? They looked at Kansas and they did the math, and the tickets would just be obscene.
Yeah.
Because you only have 8,000 seats to sell.
Right.
Now, I do give credit. So the volleyball coaches in this state and the women's basketball coaches in this state, they make sure that everybody plays each other. Softball as well.
Yep.
So you got 3 Division I softball programs, and baseball is really good at this as well.
Yep.
And good on Nebraska, now that Omaha has their own facility, of saying we'll come to play here. Now it's quirky this year. When we get to next spring, the Omaha-Nebraska series, because of the way the conference schedule works out in the Summit and the Big Ten, actually will be a weekend series.
Yeah.
So they will play Friday in Lincoln, Saturday in Omaha, Sunday back in Lincoln. And it's going to be early in the season, which is too bad because that's usually the biggest crowd that Tal Anderson is going to get. The one Nebraska-Omaha Creighton sport that I don't get, and no one has ever given me an answer. Why doesn't Nebraska and Creighton women's soccer play?
They don't?
No.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They don't.
Because
I have no clue.
Because Creighton and Omaha men's and women's soccer will play.
Yeah.
Don't know on a frequent basis if Omaha plays Nebraska in women's soccer. I know they have, but I don't think it's
I don't think it's an annual
yearly
thing.
or every year.
Yeah.
But I don't recall Nebraska and Creighton women's soccer.
That's a great question.
Playing. Why would they not?
Yeah,
They're 2 Division I programs. They play in fantastic facilities, but I don't recall that they've ever played. Now, John Walker has been there, since Devaney was coaching and winning his championship in 70 and 71.
Great question.
But, and if he had a beef with a Creighton coach, Creighton has turned that job over. That's one that I've never understood because that would be great for women's soccer. Both have beautiful facilities.
Right.
And both are in, good women's soccer conferences.
That's when you first said that, that dawned on me like, oh, yeah, I don't think they do. Why don't they? There's got to be something there. There's got to be probably a theory that you just laid out of, someone pissed somebody off a while back, and now that's just sort of something that's carried over where it's like, we don't even try to broach the subject anymore, which it is too bad. And especially with the Hebner Field, it's a great complex there in Lincoln. We already know what you have over here in downtown. So that's baffling to me. I wonder if,
because
I want to get a little intel on that.
Every other sport, Creighton, Nebraska, and Omaha all play.
Yeah, because it makes zero sense why you wouldn't. I mean, because when we talk about, especially travel costs, trying to fill games where you're not breaking the bank when it comes to your traveling budget, when you have a team right there in your backyard, and you're right, because I'm pretty sure Creighton and Omaha play every year. Do they not? I think they play every year.
I believe so.
So why would you not go?
I know the men play either in the spring or they do play in the fall.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the women do as well. Why would you not have that an annual thing? There's one game right there for both teams that you don't have to worry about doing anything really with your travel budget. That is an easy 45-minute bus ride. You're going, again, facilities at both locations are really solid. Why that would not be an annual thing, there's got to be a story behind that.
Well, we'll talk about scheduling because put on your sunscreen and all the Omaha hockey fans. Now that Arizona State in a couple of years will join the NCHC. But will the NCHC exist in 2 years?
Or will it be the Summit League?
All right, another hour coming up. Rob Childress stops by at 8. Steve Sibble, Brian Edwards, all part of a Thursday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We're still getting reports of that accident at 50th and Blondo, so please be cautious if you're in that area. Along L Street, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from 33rd to 28th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Enter the Nebraska Lottery's Lucky for Life Ticket Snap. Through July 10th, buy a Lucky for Life ticket and enter to win Nebraska Football Skybox season tickets, regular season tickets, or other prizes. Top prize odds, 1 in 30 million.
Start your engines.
Joe's Indoor Karting in Council Bluffs is off the charts crazy. Joe's Karting is fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing action at over 40 miles per hour. The only speed restriction on these karts is how good you are. Joe's Karting is located just a couple of blocks north of Bass Pro Shop and directly east of AMC Theater in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Go watch a movie. Come race at Joe's. Planning a bachelor party, graduation party, or just a night out with friends? Go to Joe's. Remember, Joe's Karting is your place to race.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email me, Connor Happer, with the Connor Happer Show at Connor, CONNOR, at 1620thezone.com. Send me your love, your hate, and maybe a few hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank.
Howdy, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Nebraska Outdoor Update. Hey, how about some interesting nature facts to get you outdoors? Did you know that Nebraska has more than 70 state parklands, more than 100 species of fish, more than 400 species of birds, and more than 1,500 species of native plants? We do. You need more numbers? Go online to the Game and Parks website, outdoornebraska.gov. Question for you. Planning to be on the water this season? Great. But remember, wear your life jacket. Keep in mind that most people who drown in boating accidents are not wearing theirs. It's like I tell folks all the time, life jackets, they float, you don't on the water. So why wouldn't you be wearing yours? Please think about that and be safe. I'm Greg Wagner with the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission.
Next time you go to a tailgate party in Lincoln, think how great it'd be if you did it in a quality pickup from Tailgate Motors of Fremont. You're not going to find a better selection of pre-owned trucks along with other vehicles. See the inventory at tailgatemotorco.com. Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620.
Good job, PETA.
Really? What do we do now?
You know, the weird cult that is PETA.
Oh, I know PETA.
It gets a lot of attention.
But when you just open up with good job, PETA, that took me by surprise.
The story yesterday,
the Dolphin,
Patrick Mahomes, right? Whitney. A lot of people have some feelings on.
Did they retract their criticism?
Yes, they were.
What?
They were like, man, PETA, get lost. I'm with Brittany.
And they come to that.
So it's one of the rare times that on social media, Threads, MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
Blue Sky,
that people supported Brittany Mahomes because PETA went after her for her pictures of holding the dolphin and swimming with a dolphin. I should not have, from my honeymoon, posted I swam with sharks. PETA would have been after me.
Yeah, they would have. Yep.
So it's the reverse. Good job, PETA. You have given Brittany Mahomes a win.
Oh,
take the L, PETA, and move on. Just a weird,
1 in 13.
Hey, just a weird cult.
Oh, it is. I thought maybe PETA had issued a retraction of their criticism, which would never happen. That's why when you said good job, PETA.
I mean, let's be honest. People only vilify Brittany for being annoying.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes
true.
it's all it takes.
Yeah, it's 100% true. It's not like she does anything like scandalous, like, oh, I don't trust her. No, she's just always in your face.
Why isn't PETA going after Ben and Jerry's for their non-consensual milking? Just asking.
Don't give them ideas.
Discovery Cove is a really cool place. So PETA has reversed the anger towards Brittany Mahomes, and they probably made Discovery Cove even more popular.
PETA got brought up over the holiday weekend for something else, too. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was just in a conversation.
They offended over the hot dogs and our American hero.
Maybe. There was something that used to be like and I can't remember, it was when we were at the Storm Chasers game. Because this is where the old memory slips. Where all of a sudden I'm like, hey, did they used to do this?
Time out.
And then they don't.
Hold on.
I thought, was this PETA?
Oh, no. Stop. You're not getting out of this one.
Okay.
So you're at a doubleheader at Werner Park, and somehow PETA came up?
Yeah.
Were they like protesting
No.
the Papio barbecue pit down there in the right field corner?
No, it was a conversation I was having with my wife, and there was something that I remember that used to take place, and maybe it wasn't even the Storm Chasers game, but it was just something that I remember like this. Why is this not a thing anymore? And she said, I'm pretty sure PETA knocked that one out.
The Testicle Festival?
No, it'll come to me. This is my memory these days.
First year that I've never talked about the Testicle Festival. It kind of came and went.
Yeah, you mentioned it when I started. There was a thing.
I was coming back from Lincoln, and I saw the billboard right there where you get off to go
Yeah.
to Around the Bend Steakhouse.
And it just kind of disappeared.
I bet they had a ball. Usually they do.
They absolutely variety of them. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever had a testicle?
No,
it's
not
okay.
quite sure how to answer that.
The Testicle Festival.
Pretty sure.
Yes, I've been there before.
Did
It's a really good time.
Did you eat?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you
can't
had to.
Nick, you can't go to a testicle
I
festival
agree.
and not eat testicles.
You guys
It's like in Temple of
you
Doom
guys
when
both
they're
got
not
awkwardly
eating.
quiet when I said, "Have you ever had a testicle?"
I was letting Jimmy answer because he's the newbie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have.
And to answer yes,
Yeah.
two of them.
They're good. It's okay to admit it, guys. They're good. They are.
I've been told.
Okay.
I mean, God created everything. Testicles too.
Yeah, that's
eat.
right. That's right.
Not to have a firework go off on them,
Mm-hmm.
but to eat them. And it's a great event. I wish I could go more, but it coincides with now the College World Series starts on a Friday.
Yeah.
It's like the same
It's
day.
poor planning.
Wait, it's over? I would have gone.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
right
it's
as the CWS
It's a
begins.
mid-June thing.
I had as they were called there, a Rocky Mountain oyster in
Mhm.
Wyoming once.
That's
That would be
what they have.
Yeah.
We get some lamb fries.
Yeah.
Sheep balls.
That's a great event. Now you can go to Wayne for the chicken show. Since you missed the
Yeah,
Testicle
Chicken Day.
Festival, Jimmy, as we're trying to incorporate you into being a true Nebraskan.
Oh, yeah.
Chicken Days. They usually have a really good, very competitive softball tournament that accompanies that as well. Chicken Days is a thing. It's big.
Sounds right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know about the softball tournament.
Oh, big
You
softball.
played in it?
I did 1 year, yes. And I thought we were just going to have
Look
a
at
good
this.
time, and then it got really competitive. I'm like, this isn't my thing.
When you talk about seriousness of a softball game, is this the eye black?
Oh, yeah, people had pants.
Okay.
Yep. Sliding.
Testicles. What?
I'm sorry, if the throw beats me there in a second. Good for you. You got me. I'm not sliding. Come on. What the hell would I be doing that for?
I went to watch a friend play softball recently at Kelly Park.
Yeah.
Pete Rose.
I'm retired. There are some people that way into softball.
Oh, it's
I
game
guess
7.
Good on them. I hope they get that contract.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But there's
Game 7, you buddy. Good job.
the beer league, the little slow pitch. That's more my style. Maybe a little co-ed.
Yeah.
Not the where you have matching uniforms and you have eye black and coolers are not allowed in the dugout.
Eye
Hell,
black.
I want to play when coolers are allowed on the field.
Team's name is Pitches Be Crazy.
See, that's a good one.
Yeah.
This is how I knew I was in for something a lot different when we were in the Chicken Days one. Is as we were walking into the park, the team we were playing was taking soft toss into a net.
That'd be in a gots to go
Yeah,
situation.
and they were bad, by the way. It was funny. I'm like, Jesus.
They're acting like Latimer and Mac before a game.
All right, 7:07. Coming up in the next segment, the popularity contest or success. How does CBS rank their Big Ten coaches? And we might even feel bad for Kirk Ferentz, where he is on this list. Maybe. But we'll make a case for it. But first, here's an update with Jimmy.
Oh, you're getting soft. Oh, come on. For the first time since play began in 2013, lots of thoughts on this one, and understandably so. The NCHC is expanding. Arizona State has been accepted as the 9th member of the conference beginning with the 2024-25 season. I even got an email in my zone inbox over this. It's a big deal. The Sun Devils will join Colorado College, Denver, Miami University, Minnesota Duluth, UNO, North Dakota, St. Cloud State, Western Michigan in composing NCHC's membership. One of those doesn't belong, but that's okay. Embrace it. Love it. Arizona State's coming off an 18-21-0 record this past season, which included wins over top 10 teams, North Dakota and Minnesota, as well as a 3-4-0 record against NCHC teams. Omaha will get an early taste of that destination trip in early January, as the Mavericks will play in a 4-team Desert Hockey Classic hosted by the Sun Devils. Also competing will be Harvard and UMass Lowell. The Final Four of the NBA's new in-season tournament will take place December 7th and 9th in Las Vegas, of course. Statistics will count for the league's regular season except for the championship game of the event. Full details on the competition, including groupings, will be unveiled Saturday night in Las Vegas. Wemby debuts Friday.
Sold out, 17,000.
Might have to get a pack of smokes. Oh, it's going to be quite the night in my house. The in-season tournament will debut for the 2023-24.
Just keep it moving.
Okay.
Nick. Just keep it moving.
Okay.
And pants are staying on.
Just pack of smokes, okay.
Yeah. And details of it were unveiled officially in the league's new collective bargaining agreement that went into effect on Saturday. All teams will participate in the group stage, which will consist of 6 groups total, 3 per conference, and chosen by random draw based on teams' winning percentages the previous season. Each team will play 4 games in its group, with the 6-game group winners making the knockout stage, along with 2 wildcards who finish with the best winning percentage and not first in their groups. Knockout stage games will be single elimination through the final. We'll see. Adam Silver's wanted this for several years. This is what they do in the soccer in Europe. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe we can get back to home and road jerseys. Anyway, the Mavericks and restricted free agent Grant Williams, big signing, finalizing a 4-year, $53 million contract as part of a 3-team sign and trade agreement with the Celtics and the Spurs. The Spurs will receive forward Reggie Bullock and an unprotected first-round pick swap in 2030 from Dallas, while both the Celtics, Williams' former team, and the Mavs will receive 2 second-round picks. The Celtics will also get that all-important $6.2 million trade exception. So, yeah, that's a big signing. Still nothing with the Dame Lillard deal. They're saying they're going to take their time, as they should, try and find the right deal. Although I do hope he ends up with the Heat.
Thank you. I do as well.
That'd be exciting.
You gotta have.
Well, you just gotta
wait.
I mean, they already lost two of those players that Reggie was obsessed with, the undrafted guys.
Well, we need to make sure that Portland knows that Tyler Hero is a great player. Might be one of the top 3 players in the NBA. Portland needs to know that.
He's going to come back from the injury even better than he was.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. When we come back, what in this list put out by CBS Sports about the coaches in the Big Ten Conference, which is more of a head-scratcher? Luke Fickell at 3 or Kirk Ferentz at 8, behind Matt Rule at 7? That and much more as we roll till 10. Rob Childress, pitching coach for Nebraska, coming up at 8 o'clock. Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards as well on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
I feel the need to stand up for bunting. I feel as if it has been crusaded against. I feel as if there is a war on bunting, Josh. They hate bunting. They hate giving up outs. Nerds. It was started by that line in Moneyball where Billy Beane says, never bunt. You're giving up an out. And I'm here to tell you it's still good for something. So, once again, Connor Happer here for bunting.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A fantastic July day on tap for Thursday. Expect mostly sunny skies in the morning with a few more clouds in the afternoon with just a light north breeze. Potential top 10 day with highs near 80. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Are you sick of spring allergies and itchy contacts? Get rid of them today at KuglerVision.com.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We're still getting reports of that accident on 50th and Blondo, so please be cautious if you're in that area. Then westbound along I-80, be prepared for a very minor slowdown just before 144th Street. And along Highway 370, be prepared for a significant delay from 84th to 72nd. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Hey everyone, I just figured out a life hack. Saul's has a private selection of high-end designer pieces, and you can save up to half off luxury store prices. And Saul's buys your designer stuff that you don't want anymore. Smart high-end shoppers start at Saul's.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
Want to learn about CBD? Then come to The Source 42 Degrees and talk with our knowledgeable and friendly staff and learn what CBD can do for you. At 42 Degrees, we take pride in educating our customers on what CBD might do to help with relieving some of your discomforts. Many of our older customers use it for arthritis and other joint discomforts. So if you want to learn more about CBDs, stop by any 42 Degrees, The Source, and we'll be glad to help. By your mom's house.
Does eating at home have you singing the blues? Stop by Cobb's at the Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, or 72nd and Jones to grab a delicious pizza, burgers, fresh salad, and some tasty charred wings. They even offer keto crusts and an extensive variety of shareable appetizers. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Cobb's, now with 3 convenient locations to serve you. Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, and 72nd and Jones. Click cobbspizza.com to see the menu, pizza, and so much more.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
So 29 years ago today, Forrest Gump was released.
Forrest Gump.
Also back on this date in 1957, there was a 16-year-old named John Lennon and a 15-year-old named Paul McCartney. They happened to be at a garden party at a church in Liverpool, and they met for the first time.
And we are all changed.
Just think of those two things on
meet.
July 6th, how impactful they've been in our life.
What if a 16 or 15-year-old decided not to go to a garden party? Because I think that'd be very normal.
Yeah.
Wasn't around for that one, but went to see Forrest Gump at the theater that weekend. I remember that.
Just think about that Apple stock that Tom Hanks was given. What that would be worth today. Those are two
a fruit company.
Those are two mega impactful events on July 6th. I mean, the world could not live without the Beatles, and I don't think the world could live without Forrest Gump. Which thankfully they did not do a sequel to.
Yes.
Yeah. Like they would do now.
Or we don't have to worry about money anymore. I said, good. One less thing.
Mama. Such a great movie.
It really is.
It every time that movie is on, I will watch it.
I'm with you.
I will stop and watch it. 29 years ago today. Now we do.
I do feel old. I feel
Yes,
very
yes.
old.
It was the day after I finished 5th grade. I remember that.
Okay, stop. I hope your mic cuts out.
Yep.
So yesterday, CBS Sports released their rankings of the top coaches in the Big Ten. Let me first start here. The 1 and 2 are no-brainers, Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day.
Right.
And they have swapped spots. I always wonder about lists like this, and CBS isn't alone. It seems like every website that covers college football does a list of the top coaches, whether it be in a particular conference or in the sport overall. The shuffling year to year always I'm curious on, because if you were like, let's say, 3rd last year in the Big Ten and you had a down year and you fall to 8 or 9, is that really a good list in terms of coaching that you would shuffle year to year that much?
No.
Maybe you drop a little bit. Like Pat Fitzgerald.
Doesn't mean
for
all of a sudden you
example.
became a bad coach.
Now, let me give you an example. Pat Fitzgerald last year was 6th on this list. This year he is 9th. I worry about Pat Fitzgerald.
Mhm.
Not because he's all of a sudden turned into a bad coach. They are 7-29 in the last 3 years, 3-24 in the Big Ten. You can figure out who they beat to get to 3-7.
Mhm.
I think Pat Fitzgerald's thing is he has not been able to replace some key guys on his staff. Mike Hankwitz, longtime college football defensive guy.
Damn good.
Defensive coordinator. He was there for over a decade with Northwestern. When Northwestern was surprisingly winning division championships, how were they doing it?
Yeah, defensively.
And they were churning guys out to the league defensively. And then Hankwitz retires, and Pat Fitzgerald hasn't been able to replace him, and he's had kind of a revolving door at offensive coordinator. That's how I look like the Luke Fickell experience, and we're going to get to him, and even Matt Rule. Are you only as good as your coordinators or your staff and support staff that you hired? Like, will Matt Rule just be this unbelievable coach, or will Matt Rule be a really good CEO that made good hires on both sides of the ball? He has a really good staff, and even more so, he has a support staff that supplements the guys that are on the field to make the whole CEO Fortune 500
that's
company
the hope.
go. But
That is the hope.
So that's where Fitzgerald, I think, has struggled. I don't think the game has passed him by. I think the NIL world, in
Yes.
terms of being able to recruit, but most
And the
importantly,
transfer portal.
on the football field, just you haven't been able to replace key guys. I look at Hayden Fry. Hayden Fry had an amazing staff at Iowa, but all those guys went off and got jobs, and he wasn't able to keep it going to replace them. We've seen that at Nebraska of guys that have moved on or retired, and you're not able to fill that slot, and that hurts you. So I think we need to talk more in the coaching world about the ability to assemble a staff and how good that staff is. We have 5 years of proof, the last 5 years of Nebraska football. But we'll get to Luke Fickell, because Luke Fickell right now is kind of polarizing, and he's 3rd on this list. You know my rule. Luke Fickell and Matt Rule should not be on this list. Ryan Walters should not be on this list. They're first-year guys in a brand new conference that none of them have ever coached as a head coach. Ryan Walters, of course, was the DC at Illinois.
Fickell's an interim.
But why I ask, Nick, is these lists, are they success or popularity contest? Kirk Ferentz was 3rd on this list last year. We all have thoughts on Kirk. But the bottom line is, he wins 8 football games a year. 7 of the last 8 years, they have won 8 games. 8-5 to Iowa fans, perfect. 8-5 around here, right now we'd take it. Oh,
hell yeah.
I'd crawl across I-80 to go get 8 wins. But Kirk Ferentz, should he be 8th behind Bielema, Fleck, and Rule?
Not in my opinion, no.
So this becomes a popularity contest because the Q rating, I think nationally for Kirk Ferentz, is not good.
A lot of it has to do with his son.
Well, with his son, with that offense. But yet the rest of the program is in pretty good shape. So I disagree on this list because some of this list is just, he should not be 8th. Now, isn't it interesting? We talked yesterday about Bielema. When will Bielema get love for being in orange instead of love for being in red? He was 11th last year. He is 5th on this list after going, just like Iowa, 8-5.
Yeah, and other than the top two, the Bielema one is the one that I probably agree with, because when I look at this list, and I'm with you as far as Matt Rule's concerned, Luke Fickell, and Ryan Walters. To me, this is a coaching list. This is a ranking amongst how you coach in that conference you're in. Okay, and if you want to try to foreshadow what the newcomers are going to do, okay, so be it. That's fine. But they should probably be towards the bottom. And Ryan Walters is, just because he hasn't been a head coach. But for Brett Bielema, what he has proved now in the short time at Illinois, but you can also use the sample size of Wisconsin, is this dude knows how to coach in the Big Ten. This guy has a formula that works in the Big Ten. And so I think that one is appropriate. I think what he's done to Illinois in his short time getting there, even with inheriting some Lovey, to Lovey's credit, okay, yes, he did not recruit the state of Illinois at all, which is astonishing to me. But he did get you some guys, especially on the line of scrimmage. So Brett Bielema came into that with a guy that can really utilize, especially the offensive line, a system in place that he knows can sort of be bruising in the Big Ten like he did at Wisconsin. So he's kind of stood true to that identity. It works. He has a formula that works in that conference the way it currently is. So I think Brett Bielema, what he's shown, I think that's top 5 worthy. I truly believe that. But now going back to the Kirk Ferentz conversation, and going back to what you brought up, which I think is extremely important when looking at these coaches and their success, is the continuity. And I could make an argument for Iowa last year, despite Brian Ferentz. And yes, that is also on Kirk Ferentz's tab, as far as his treating of the offense, his handling of the OC, and who is on staff there. But despite a putrid offense, a horrific offense that inched its way to a little bit of improvement by the end of the year. Going into that game against Nebraska, they were 1 game away from going back-to-back Big Ten championship games. You could chalk that up to Phil Parker. But again, the continuity of the staff, even though it could be sort of the bane of his existence with the offense, that team, how bad that offense was still 1 game away from going to the Big Ten championship. I don't think that all of a sudden knocks you out of from where he was a year ago. So to answer your question, too, as far as a popularity contest, absolutely it is. Because otherwise Luke Fickell would not be number 3.
So he's the guy. Well, we'll save the discussion about Luke Fickell. Looking at these lists, and this is not a very good list. This is a bad list. Luke Fickell should not be number 3.
No.
He's never coached in the Big Ten.
If you want to bump James Franklin up to 3, go ahead.
If you want to hold what he did as an interim at Ohio State against him, go ahead, because Big Ten to the AAC.
Mm-hmm.
He did go to the playoff, but Luke Fickell being at 3, just kind of this list slides away. 1, 2, smart. But look at the coaches in the rest of the Big Ten from the Nebraska perspective. Take Matt Rule out of the equation. You are hiring for Nebraska football. You know everything there is to know about Nebraska football. You know what ails it, what it needs. How many coaches in the Big Ten would you hire to fix what ails Nebraska? Matt Rule is not in play in this. Think about recruiting, developing, what you have to do with the animal that is Nebraska football here. Would you hire Jim Harbaugh?
I would. I'd say yes. I know it's quirky, but it's still Jim Harbaugh.
I would too. I would too, because I think Jim Harbaugh is not just a Michigan name. I think Jim Harbaugh is a national brand name.
The dude turned Stanford into a power.
Well, and let's start with the recruiting. That has never been an issue at Michigan. There's never been an issue. His development of quarterback, as we talked about yesterday, slow, but seems to maybe be coming around now. Harbaugh, he's also a guy that I don't think, because his
teams are physical, that would play well here.
He's dealt with the Michigan scrutiny as well. So I don't think the Nebraska scrutiny would also be something that would be completely foreign to him. So yeah, Harbaugh, I would put on that list.
I would not hire Ryan Day.
I wouldn't either, because I don't know what he can do when he's sort of out of that element. All of a sudden, you don't have the built-in Ohio State brand that you can just go into anybody's living room and say, hey, we're Ohio State, come on over. Now you got to do it a little bit of a different way. He's unproven to me. More than anything.
Urban Meyer did a lot of what's gone on in Ohio State. And if he was a decent person, then that's a different conversation if he were in play on that question.
Right.
But yeah.
I don't even hesitate. Bielema Fleck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without question.
If Kirk Ferentz brought Phil Parker and LeVar Woods with him, no brainer.
Yep.
After that,
Loxley, no.
Pat Fitzgerald.
I love Fitz. So I'll say yes.
But so remember, before last year happened, Pat Fitzgerald loves Nebraska.
Does he have Hank with him, like 20 years younger?
No, well, but you would be at a place. Now, hear me out on Pat Fitzgerald. He would be at a place where he would have more resources.
Yeah.
He would not have limitations.
Less academic restrictions.
Who he can recruit.
Yep.
He could build a staff with a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the facilities are probably even. I mean, Northwestern's football facilities are unbelievable.
Yeah.
But in terms of having things at your fingertips that you can't have in Evanston that you could get in Lincoln, and what Pat Fitzgerald has done, remember, he sent more guys to the NFL than Nebraska has, especially first-round guys of late. I mean, he just sent an offensive lineman again as a first-round pick. Yeah, it's Slater and Skaransky.
No
have been
hesitation,
First-round
yes.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
All
tell
right.
me O-line guys, and like, okay.
After that, I'm good.
Yeah.
Mel Tucker, Mike
Nope.
Loxley, Greg Schiano, Tom Allen, Ryan Walters.
Right.
Yeah. No.
And I don't want
so
to
ask yourself.
I don't
out
want to say
loud.
Walters, no, for sure, because Walters is, we got to see. Walters would be intriguing, but if he was available now and he hadn't coached, no. You that's where you could not do this guy is the next up and coming coordinator. We got to roll with him.
I think he's going to be damn good, but you have to show it first.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that list.
I think some people might be hesitant around here to hire a 37-year-old football coach.
Well, yeah. I mean, that doesn't have any Nebraska ties either.
Did I mention or either one of you mention Luke Fickell, who you'd hire at Nebraska?
No.
Who was a little late to the party in his interest in Nebraska, but had a genuine interest in Nebraska. So let me just give you a couple of things on Fickell. Again, on this list, he shouldn't be number 3. He is, take out his first season in Cincinnati. So he went 6-6 as an interim.
Mm-hmm.
He went 57-18 at Cincinnati. Take out his first year, 53-10, 33-5 in the last 5 seasons, and a playoff appearance.
All of that looks great.
On this list, Rule is not available. Who would you hire? We've not mentioned Luke Fickell.
We didn't mention James Franklin either.
No, I'm good on Franklin.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
For what Nebraska needs, James Franklin would not be a guy that I would chase.
I would be intrigued by Fickell.
Dookie Clint says no to Fickell at Nebraska. What if Fickell would have been the head coach at Nebraska? Would Dookie Clint come back into the fold? I think we got Dookie Clint thinking about going to games this year. Very mixed on Fickell. See, Fickell is going to be more intriguing probably than Rule.
Yeah.
Because of what he's trying to do at Wisconsin. But his staff that he assembled,
pretty good.
See, he has more resources at a place like Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who is, at the end of the day, because Fickell and Rule will always be connected as long as they stay in this conference. Who is scarier if they get it to pop? A Luke Fickell at Wisconsin or a Matt Rule at Nebraska? Again, they will always be connected on the kind of success they're having. Because, hear me out on this, and let's play a little hypothetical. I know we don't like to dabble in the hypothetical, but it's July 6th, and we're doing Sports Talk Radio 56 days before the start of the season, which is 8 weeks from today. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
If Luke Fickell was the football coach at Nebraska, and remember, he had some interest, but he was a little late to the party.
Yeah.
He didn't get the memo.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you probably should have started
He didn't
this
check
maybe-
his voicemail.
Hey, you maybe should have started this in October.
Yeah.
Follow Trev on Threads.
Yeah.
Would Luke Fickell have run the same kind of offense he's trying at Wisconsin? Would it have been an easier transition because essentially Nebraska was running that offense here, not to the extent of the Phil Longo just going semi-air raid.
Right.
But Nebraska really didn't have an identity, and their identity was all over the place. And if he comes in here, if he would be the head
And he'd have a
football coach
Mordecai
at
over
Nebraska, would he have the same offensive philosophy? Would Phil Longo be hired at Nebraska?
I mean, I have no reason to think he wouldn't be.
I think so. If you're trying to do it at Wisconsin, yeah. I do think, though, Nebraska got the right guy for them. That's not biased. I just really, I've been a big fan of Matt Rule for many years. I've seen what he did at Baylor. I think it's going to fit well.
I think Luke Fickell would have success here.
I do too.
Oh, absolutely. He's a good coach.
I think the only interesting factor about would the offense be completely what you're going to see at Wisconsin is how much of that is predicated on what they have in the cupboard for the offensive line.
Yeah.
And how they feel like they can protect their quarterback and be able to execute that. But I do think that they would have at least a pretty similar version of what they're doing in Wisconsin. And Luke Fickell, this was the reason that when his name started to resurface, I was excited for the simple fact of I like guys that have Big Ten experience. Coaching in that conference, especially with what we saw from the previous coaching staff that had success in an AAC. You're like, okay, this is good. They've got a system. Obviously, there was the Scott Frost returning home. It's going to just mean more. We've already beat that thing to death. But a guy that had kind of took his lumps as interim coach, but also a defensive-minded guy that knows the Big Ten, that knows the competition, that sort of knows the recruiting battlegrounds there. And then a guy that went off and made a big brand for himself with the success. And anytime that you are a non-Power 5 team that makes it to the college football playoff, and the first team ever to do that,
His teams were really good at Cincinnati.
that stock is up there. So again, that can win you over the type of recruiting wins that you would need. Then you build the resources around him. So yeah, I think Luke Fickell, for all of the coaches on this list, would be one that you would have to say, yeah, would probably be someone you should be excited about had it gone the other way.
I'd hire Fickell, Bielema, Fleck.
Yep, I would too.
If I had an opening at Nebraska and I could only choose on this list of 14 and the guy that actually has the job was not available.
Well, and this is the thing I always say about Fleck.
You did
Well,
bring up
no, I
Fitz.
don't. No. I like Pat Fitzgerald.
See, I think I
this
would
is
hire
a
Fitz.
This is a huge year for Northwestern just having a place in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, because this
And-
thing,
and-
as
and-
it opens up.
And he's going to have to pull some Fitz magic for them to get to a bowl game. That's not a very good roster right now.
And see, I would go with Fitz, but getting back to PJ Fleck, the only thing that I think is always sort of a red flag with Fleck is the retention, the roster retention. But the thing that I've always noticed about Fleck's teams, and what I think of Nebraska's current situation with what ails Nebraska, is 4 quarters of preparedness. That team always looks prepared. That team always looks in sync. Fundamentally, his teams have been extremely sound.
They look tough.
They do.
Yeah.
You never go, wow, Minnesota.
Yeah, that's soft. Yeah.
They always are tough. I mean, that's what you're striving for in Nebraska.
Right.
Look at what Rule in a recent interview, they're talking about toughness and whether you have it or not.
Just
Flex teams are always tough.
And even
punch in the mouth.
Even in losses. The game that they lost out of the gate 2 years ago to Ohio State when Mo Abraham went down. I mean, they were putting the fear of God into Ohio State. And they were hanging with them.
Yeah, they could have won.
They were completely out-talented, yet it did not show in the way that game was being played out. I will always go back to this just because it's a game that was so frustrating, but is another game that I had sort of my aha moment with PJ Fleck of the dude can just flat out coach. Is the COVID game against Nebraska, where Nebraska, for the most part, as much as you could be during that year, was relatively healthy and was not succumbing to a lot of the COVID issues that were plaguing college football. PJ Fleck, who easily could have said, yep, we don't have a healthy enough roster to even play. They decided to play the game. And yet he had over 30 guys that had played a lot of minutes for that team that were unavailable that day. And somehow they punched Nebraska in the mouth time and time and time again. So you essentially had a scout team in a lot of areas that were prepared and that outworked Nebraska, a healthy Nebraska for the most part. That, to me, at some point, I don't care what you think about PJ Fleck as a person, you have to say that dude can flat out prepare his team.
This is his transition year, though. Like on this one final thing on this list. Kirk Ferentz should not be behind PJ Fleck.
No.
PJ Fleck has not beaten Kirk Ferentz since he's been at Minnesota. So I think we've done a good job in the media here of tampering down, hey, let's just make fun of Fleck. I'm done. He's quietly one of the better coaches in the conference and in college football. He's got 9+ win seasons, 3 non-COVID seasons. Okay. Where that hasn't happened around here.
Nope.
But this is the year that I think PJ Fleck proves to people that he's the real deal if you have any doubt. Because this is the first time in a while that you're questioning what Minnesota looks like because there's no Tanner Morgan. Ibrahim is not there. They've got a brand new quarterback. They're going with a different identity. They're going to be more pass heavy than they've been. I still don't think the Minnesota is going to shift away from the era that's defined by a bruising running back. But Mo Ibrahim was really, really good.
Yeah.
They also, their interior offensive line, which was arguably the nation's best offensive line in terms of run blocking, that is not there. Those guys are off getting paid to play football. The thing, for example, the first game in 8 weeks from today, Joe Rossi looks like he's be a pretty good defensive coordinator in terms of being a play caller with a defensive play sheet in his hand. They do lose significant parts on every level on defense. So they have a lot more questions that I can recall in this stretch of success for Fleck that you're wondering, okay, what's PJ going to do? Now, if he pops up and he wins 9 again, whoa.
Come on.
That's really, really scary for the rest of the Big Ten moving forward. But if this is a 5-win season or a 6-win season for Fleck, how does that change the narrative on him? That's why I think it's a big transition year for him. He's not going away. But if he does have a 9-win season with these question marks coming into the season and they're able to navigate, they don't have a difficult non-con, then people are going to, Fleck's going to move up on this list. And he should.
Yeah, I even think an 8-win season, hell, a 7-win season would be pretty impressive to what that they lost compared to what they have to kind of get in line in a fast amount of time. And here's the other thing, too. When we talk about coaches, and this is what we're going to hold Matt Rule and his staff accountable for, too, and what I talked about with PJ Fleck of how he seems to have his teams prepared. Okay, then what's the other big part of being a college head football coach or successful one? Talent acquisition and development. Okay, so now this is going to be that year of let's see how the other guys that were behind, bevy of running backs, a solid offensive line, upperclassmen type guys. How did those younger guys and some of the ones that you added in the transfer portal, how is that talent acquisition and how is the development in a short period of time, or at least some of those guys that have been here for a year or two that had to kind of wait their turn, are they developed? Because that's kind of the one thing, especially in the offensive line, that I always appreciated about Kirk Ferentz and what they could do is as soon as they would have 2 or 3 dudes go to the league, next guys come up, maybe a game or two, they look a little rusty or a little fresh, then all of a sudden it clicks. Does PJ Fleck, does he have in those key areas, especially on the interior of the offensive line and some of those running backs, do they sort of pick up from where the guys left off? That to me would also talk very highly of talent acquisition and development, which is also obviously the sign of a great coaching staff.
If they win 5 games in the conference this year, you need to stop with any slander on PJ Fleck because they have Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State are their crossovers, and they have to go on the road to Iowa and Purdue. If they win more than 5 games in the Big Ten this year, you got to stop with PJ Fleck if you are still in that business.
I sit with PJ Fleck at the lunch table when no one else does. I'm right there. When he's the guy by himself, I'm like, hey, PJ.
He's changed, though, at Big Ten media days. His first couple of years, he talked to everybody. Now he doesn't interact with as many people. He also has more people around him besides his wife.
Yeah.
8 weeks from today. That's what we'll be talking about. Nebraska and Minnesota.
It's the one day where everybody dresses like PJ Fleck. They all have a tie.
Oh.
Do you think that'll be good? What if Rule showed up with no tie? Just had the suit? Like we go like...
No, I want smock.
Rule looks uncomfortable wearing a suit, but he'll be in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
I think that'll come from the head man.
Does someone break the mold and just decide to go suit but no tie? It's kind of fashionable now.
Why don't coaches and players dress like they do on Saturdays at media day?
Yeah.
I mean, Harbaugh did the 1 year.
Yeah, he did. He had the khakis.
And then somebody got to him, maybe Ward Manuel, and said, we are not showing up like it's Saturday. Okay. You do not need to have the dip can in the back pocket, wearing khakis and wearing your coaching gear and your hat. And then the next year he showed up, he was in a suit, but he was wearing his Michigan cap.
Why
and
can't
then
the
last
guys,
couple of years he's shown up as a normal human being.
The guys show up in jerseys, no pads, like they do on Fan Day?
Yeah. Won't they wear the pants?
Yeah, why not?
Sorry, Rick. House rules.
Take the pads out of them.
Those guys don't. Well, maybe they do want to wear suits.
Actually, there's a couple of teams that it would be beneficial to media members that do not cover them on a daily basis if the players actually were wearing a jersey.
Like, wait, who is that? I don't know who that is. Oh, wait, his nameplate. There we go.
To be honest, there's not a lot of recognizable guys in the Big Ten.
Right.
I think I could tell you what Blake Corum looks like out of a uniform. I could tell you what Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like. I can tell you what J.J. McCarthy looks like.
That was kind of how it was. It would have been, 2013? 2014. When Purdue started trucking their guys through, like Raheem Mostert, I didn't know who he was. I mean, I knew of him, but I couldn't recognize him. And so, there's if you don't have like the big name guys, they're the ones that you could recognize outside of an actual uniform. It could actually behoove you to have the jerseys.
This year, the coaches are the story.
Absolutely.
The coaches are bigger than the players this year in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, I would agree.
7:44. Rob Childress going to join us in about 15 minutes. Steve Sipple in less than an hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. You know, it's hard to beat the allure of a new vehicle. And with Woodhouse Buick GMC, they make buying your next car simple and easy. Inside of the climate-controlled indoor showroom, 119th and I. When you go there, you'll see a full array of high-quality new and pre-owned vehicles. Their inventory is changing daily. They've also got the dedicated sales team that let you peruse at your pleasure. And then they go to work for you when you say, that's what I want, because Woodhouse Buick GMC simply has something for everyone. You want a stylish SUV? It's got safety features, cargo room, infotainment. They got it. Need a truck for business or pleasure? Check. I know in my current vehicle search, competitive pricing and a wide selection will help me make the right decision. And I'm looking at Woodhouse Buick GMC because they also help you take the confusion and time out of the car buying process. So experience the difference, purchase with confidence, in person, 119th and I, or online, where all the same inventory and interaction is available at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
Hi, everybody. Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked or uneven concrete, Everlevel can do it all with their complete repair solutions. They fix cracks, lift sunken slabs, and protect the surface, all at a fraction of the price compared to replacement. And better yet, they offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Okay, next time you're at the store, I dare you to not think about the unmistakable fresh, clean scent of Irish Spring. Yeah, you heard me. I want you to resist picturing a shower filled with those sensational Irish Spring suds. And if you succeed, well, you got what my gramps used to call resolutitude. Not a real word, but let's be honest, you're probably going to end up leaving with Irish Spring because of its irresistible scent and because you have zero resolutitude. Pick up Irish Spring at Walmart today.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Does what Luke Fickell did at Ohio State matter? 6-6, that weird transition from Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer's waiting in the wings?
I think it does.
Okay.
The reason I'd say yeah is because this is what I find that I found attractive about Luke Fickell. I actually saw that as a bonus when Nebraska was looking at him, at least there towards the end, or if you were giving your wish list of coaches. It wasn't the fact that he got Cincinnati to the college football playoff. I mean, that was a big thing. But the fact that he did have experience in the Big Ten as a DC interim coach as
and
well.
then stayed on and continued. Yeah.
Like I think that whole experience with a team that was in flux, you're dealing with the probation season. You didn't, and I know people are like, well, what about the recruiting aspect? I mean, remember Braxton Miller? He had Braxton Miller. They were just.
Well, they were in love with Joe Bowser.
Yeah, but that Braxton Miller, Levante David single-handedly saved that game for Nebraska, but then you got to bring in Joe Bowserman. I mean, and no one's winning games with Joe Bowserman.
951-1620. Did Joe Bowserman
did he
mark
hit you?
the end of Luke Fickell at Ohio State?
Or if you were at that game, did he hit you in the stands with one of his errant throws?
There is Michigan Lance. Good morning.
What's up, fellas? Good morning. I heard you talking about the Big Ten, man. So has the Big Ten, I believe for sure in coaching, the Big Ten has the best coaching head coaches in the country. Has the football play, is that the best in the country now too? Or maybe there is no best? Like, I know the SEC is putting out, NFL players, but team-wise though, you know what I mean? There's still a difference in teams and winning and success,
There is. The depth of the Big Ten is not there yet.
Agreed.
But the top end is very competitive with the SEC.
Agreed.
Right.
Okay, let me get
so
you.
You don't think the middle, not the bottom, but the middle, you don't think that middle is like the.
I think the middle of the SEC is still a bit ahead. That'd be my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I guess because their middle is what? Ole Miss, Mississippi State?
Right.
Well, I guess, Florida's their bottom, Florida's not.
Tennessee is in the middle.
Bottom of the middle, I guess. Top of the.
Well, would you put LSU in the middle right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with that.
So let me ask you something, because your coach is one of the best in the country. You said they have the best coaches.
Yeah.
How far down the list of the best coaches currently in college football before you, as a Michigan fan, no bias, get to Jim Harbaugh?
Get to Jim Harbaugh?
Who is ahead of Jim Harbaugh right now in your mind in the best coaches in college football?
Okay, so I would say Nick Saban. I would say who else across? I'm not putting Kirby there. I understand what Kirby has done. I would like to see Kirby go. Like, we got to see Saban go up against some teams that were equally as talented as his and not be as successful. But there were times that he did win some too. So I haven't seen Kirby. Because Kirby almost got beat by Ohio State. That was equal level of talent.
Yep.
But
poor decision
the
on
coaching. I
field goal,
don't think the coaching was probably even. So I want to see Kirby go up against like-minded talent and win games. You know what I mean? Like he didn't take over a Georgia program that was down in the dumps or anything. He took them to the next level. But Georgia's always been good. They've always been like one game away or competed in national championships. You know what I mean? So it's not like, so I would probably say right now, I'll probably say Saban. For you look at
only Saban ahead of Harbaugh?
Overall coaching,
Okay. Would you?
I'll take that into account.
Would you put Dabo Swinney?
Let's forget about Dabo.
Convince you of Dabo Swinney ahead of Harbaugh?
I'll give Dabo credit. I like Dabo. I'll give Dabo credit. I think Dabo's more like a Kirby as well. I think Dabo took over a program that was already good, already one step away from a national championship. They were closer to a national championship than not. So Harbaugh's ahead of those guys because he's taken over programs and made them nationally know, whether it was Stanford, got Michigan to the upper echelon, you know what I mean, of college football. Even at the 49ers were losers. Look at his record after he took over. So Like that matters to me. What type of program you inherit, and then how can you build it and make it, you know what I mean? Because not saying, it's easier to win with great players. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? Before you have to build. Now, everybody doesn't win with great players. I'm not saying that. But you have a shorter hill to climb when you got great players. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I put him up there.
Well, his reputation has definitely changed. I mean, you win the Big Ten 2 years in a row. You get to the playoff. The next step is to win a playoff game. I mean, of all the coaches on these lists, his is the one that his reputation has recovered nicely. Whether it should have been knocked or not, because he was still winning 9 games or 10 games. Now he's just playing into late December, where it matters.
Right, and that was, could he do that? You know what I mean? He did it in the NFL. Could he do that in college? You know, he got to the BCS game with Stanford, and so now in college he's gotten there. So he's one step. I think this is the year to win the national championship. That is what should be on their mind. I really think this is the year to do it. If not win. If not now, then win. This is the best chance that he's been there to win a national championship. His whole backfield's coming back offensively. They've done great in the portal. They've done great recruiting, like bringing a lot of guys back. So, hey, man, this should be national championship or bust.
Yep. Hey, Lance, appreciate it. Thank you.
I want to
defensively, they're loaded.
I want to push back on Lance with the Harbaugh Sweeney one, but he's not wrong. As far so, like when Dabo Sweeney took over from Tommy Bowden, they had. I mean, the Clemson football program had been relevant. They had some talent, if I remember correctly. I mean,
Clemsoning was still a thing.
It was, yeah. It was just a not winning the one that mattered or having that really inexplicable loss. But and we were just talking about this during the break, Brady Hoke's last year and where he kind of had that Michigan team before Jim Harbaugh got the gig it was a little bit more down, if I remember correctly. Now, I think everybody knew that it wouldn't take, between the Michigan brand and Jim Harbaugh's name, it wouldn't take long for them to kind of be able to build that roster back up. Dabo Sweeney, he did the Clemsoning thing. He finally knocked it down. Then they became relevant, consistent.
Are you doing recency bias here?
No, and that's the thing. I think you have to remember, even their down years, where their floor is still pretty impressive compared to where it was when he got there. And that's kind of why I look at Iowa the same way.
There's only 3 guys in college football right now that have multiple titles.
Yep. And so they're all
in the South.
The Dabo thing, I would have said, if you asked me earlier, I would have said Dabo's way ahead of Harbaugh. But I don't know if he's way ahead of Harbaugh. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I would still put Dabo in front of him, but I don't think it's like that big of a gap.
So our short attention spans, if Clemson doesn't win a national title this year, that's now 5 years since Dabo last won it.
Mm-hmm.
But Dabo's still in the top 10.
Yeah,
whatever list you're looking at this summer that is the top coaches in college football, if Brian Kelly and Kyle Whittingham are not in the top 10, throw that list away.
That's true.
Throw that magazine away, light it on fire, recycle it, do whatever you want. But whatever list is out there, if Kyle Whittingham and Brian Kelly are not in your top 10, you're doing it wrong. Because most lists will have Nick Saban and Kirby Smart 1 and 2.
Yep.
I still don't think you knock the GOAT off, but they'll be 1 and 2. But I just need the guy from LSU and the guy from Utah who are really good football coaches to always be, not always, but in a top 10 list currently.
Yeah, because their teams are always there.
Yeah.
Every year.
And then that's the thing of like, you didn't win a national championship. Yeah, but what's your worst year compared to your best year?
If I was preparing for what I have to face, I'm more worried about a Utah in a Big Ten than I am a USC.
Yep.
Because Utah plays like Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They just aren't able to recruit like that. They got a hell of a football coach.
Yep.
You guys have said it before. Once upon a time, had Kyle Whittingham been the guy at Nebraska, would have been a great fit.
Mm-hmm. And then Mike Riley took his job. 951-1620. Guy who's got a new job. It's actually an old job. Rob Childers, Nebraska's pitching coach, joins us next.
Hey, it's time to get out to Woodhouse Mazda if you are looking for that perfect summer vehicle, because the CX-90 is the one for you. Between the amount of passengers, which you can fit up to 8 passengers in there, but also the cargo space that'll get all of your luggage there. Everyone's going to be very comfortable, but also the exterior, which is awesome looking, but the safety features too. As someone who is a parent who also likes to take the dog on trips too, we like that whole safety thing, and they've got the very best when it comes to modern safety technology. And how about this one? When it comes to technology, they've got a new thing that you can enjoy called the driver personalization system. It is a driver-enabled system that will suggest ideal driving positions based on driver height and a scan that will find the center point between the driver's eyebrows. Yeah, that's right. You heard it right. To adjust mirrors, steering wheel, and driver seat positions. Took this Mazda CX-90 out for a test last month, and it's the perfect blend of style, size, and comfort and safety. You're going to love it. It's now available at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda off 144th and Giles Road. You can shop during the Season of Discovery event, and you can also shop, finance, and buy online and get your deal started at WoodhouseMazda.com or WoodhousePlaceMazda.com. Chat with a sales team member online and easily schedule a test drive, check vehicle availability, and much more. Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can't expect a significant delay from Harrison to Q Street along 204th. Then on L, be prepared for a little bit of a delay near 120th. And along Highway 370, be prepared for a significant slowdown from 114th all the way to 72nd. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Lus Hills Harley-Davidson.
Riding season is here, and it's time to trade in and trade up. Or, if you ain't riding it, Lus Hills Harley-Davidson is buying it. Sell your Harley-Davidson today. Lus Hills Harley-Davidson. Rise up and ride on.
When your home or business needs a new roof, it's time for Omaha's Ferris Roofing Company. Weather Guarding. Owned and operated by NCAA Division I and Final Four referee John Higgins. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. America's leading installer of premium Da Vinci roofs, residential, commercial, roofs, siding, gutters. The rooferees at Weather Guarding are the fairest game in town. Request a free estimate at rooferees.com.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Kugler Vision. Beautiful spring weather has arrived, which means summer is right around the corner. This is the perfect time for you to take advantage of the great deals that they have at Kugler Vision. Why do glasses and contact wearers from all over Nebraska travel to see the folks at Kugler Vision? Because they tackle tough vision problems. Schedule a consultation today, 402-558-2211 or KuglerVision.com.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
The time between Memorial Day and Labor Day is known as the 100 Deadliest Days. It's a time when school's out and experienced drivers are spending more time on the road, and fatal car crashes increase dramatically. In 2020 alone, the 100 Deadliest Days accounted for 37% of all traffic fatalities in Nebraska. Don't let distractions blind you. Focus on the basics. Watch your speed. Eliminate distractions. Never drive impaired. And always buckle up. Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office and the Nebraska chapter of the National Safety Council.
This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone. Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's. It's Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
All right, a lot in the college baseball world. This will be a big weekend for Nebraska baseball. Bryce Matthews, Max Anderson, Emmett Olson should go pretty quickly in the Major League Baseball draft. And while that's all going on, the roster for the 24 season is being assembled. And the pitching coach, Rob Childress, joins us. Do I say welcome back?
I don't know if you say welcome back or not. Been back for a couple of years, but certainly happy to be in the great state of Nebraska. I can tell you that.
Hi, so Rob Childress joining us now, and he is back as Nebraska's pitching coach. He just slides down a little bit in the dugout. I want to first start here. I know the answer to this because of our friendship, but for people that maybe don't get it, guy from Gilmer, Texas, who in 1997 is hanging out with Dave Van Horn in Louisiana and gets the call from Dave to say, hey, you want to go to Lincoln, Nebraska? And you go, huh? You spent all your time in Texas. To a guy who has had property in the state, now makes your home here. Your kids have embraced Nebraska. Your family has. What impact does the University of Nebraska and the state of Nebraska have on the Childress family that you wanted to come back here?
Well, it's incredible, and it's the people of the state of Nebraska. When we came here in '98, I didn't know how to drive in the snow. All I knew was we had national name recognition with the success that the football program was coming off of, and no history in terms of the baseball program. And we really took the model that Coach Osborne and Coach Solich had taken with their football program and recruiting. It took me about 2 months to figure out that you need to take the very best in the state of Nebraska, then go to the Midwest, and then go national if you need to get a skill player. And that very first year of recruiting, we brought in 25 new players, had the biggest turnaround from 98 to 99 in college baseball. And we just got really lucky in recruiting. And I would say we hit a home run on a 5'8" Hawaiian right-handed pitcher named Shane Comini in that first class.
Well, and Rob, I know even with my time as an assistant at Millard North, the relationships that you were able to establish early on the recruiting trail here locally too. What was your perception coming into Lincoln, coming into Nebraska with the local talent? And then, did that change? Did you learn something different about what you kind of thought it was going to be and then what you kind of learned? Because I to this day have not ever spoken to a high school baseball coach that didn't have just amazing things to say about how quickly you built those relationships.
Well, I mean, it was pretty evident that all the high school coaches and the Legion coaches in the state cared incredibly high about the sport of baseball. And the unique thing about the state of Nebraska is the high school coaches get to coach their kids in Legion ball in the summer. So they got their hands on them year round, and the kids know how to play with a chip on their shoulder. They know how to play hard, and they know how to play the game. So many times down south, you go watch a summer game, and it's all about, well, I'm going to get my 3 innings on Thursday, and then I'm not coming back. And the scoreboards aren't turned on, and the kids are just getting their work in. I mean, here, kids know how to bunt, they know how to hit and run, they know how to play the scoreboard and play to win. And that was the evident thing. And, it's just been neat to come back after being gone for 15, 16 years to really see how the sport has grown in the state and the amount of high school teams that are now playing baseball. And obviously the Legion is the second largest in the United States. So, it's, to me, a really good baseball state. We've got to continue to do our very best to keep the in-state talent at home, because kids from the state of Nebraska are going to give everything they have to the University of Nebraska. And, it's the same with the fans in the state. I mean, they want to see every sport here at the University of Nebraska succeed.
Rob Childress, Nebraska pitching coach, joining us. All right, walk us through, and when you came back and in your role, you were very respectful of Jeff and Will and what your role was, and you didn't step on anybody's toes, and you did your part. But, it's kind of tough when people are going, man, the pitching isn't good. There's Rob. I mean, unfortunately, they were on Jeff. But how did the transition work when from Jeff to you in that week or two after the season was over? How did that all transpire?
Well, coming back, my daughter was here, my granddaughter's here, and have the opportunity to come back and support 3 coaches that I had the opportunity to coach as players. I've known them all since they were 18 years old, and support them the way that they supported me as coaches for me was an honor. And that's all I came here to do, was support them. But Will made a decision at the end of the season to make a change. I told him not to make a decision based on the fact that I had the ability to stay, I've got other options to head back south and do some different things. And Will felt like it was the decision based best on the program. And after that decision was made and weighing a couple other options back south, felt like this was a place that God needed me to help continue to grow young men and grow pitchers and help the University of Nebraska be the very best that they can be.
Rob, when you look at the group you have right now and what you're seeking as well when it does come to recruiting, because as you mentioned, I mean, this is a huge time of the year when it comes to Legion baseball, and you got summer leagues going on, prospects leagues, everything going on right now. What's the one characteristic, what's the one trait that you're looking for that maybe you see from the current group you have, but what you want to be able to get more of with this group?
Well, competitive strike throwers, at the end of the day, that's what wins.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to be deeper on the mound and have guys that are dependable coming out of the bullpen each and every time. And, you know, that's the thing that we are focused on right now is putting the 2024 team together. It's very fluid right now, as you guys know, in terms of the transfer portal. The draft is coming up next week. And so there's still some pieces that need to be put in place. And, you know, we've lost almost 65% of our innings coming back. We've lost, 67% of our wins. So, we're going to have some new faces step up. And certainly the guys that are coming back have to take a step forward in their growth as pitchers.
I know, and a great combination of you and Mike in recruiting and knowing all kinds of contacts. And Will, of course, has his contacts, and Lance. So the four of you make a really, really good pair when it comes to knowing the country and knowing baseball and who to talk to and people sending players your way. The Rob Childress from 15 years ago that went to Texas A&M and was dealing with transfers where Texas A&M was a destination, now to the world of college baseball where the portal is so huge. The portal didn't stop for Omaha. We saw teams that were here in the College World Series. They were still recruiting portal guys. To what you guys have been able to do in a short amount of time out of the portal. What's your thoughts, pros and cons of the portal for college baseball?
I think overall it's bad for our game. I really do. And when kids make a decision, make a commitment to go to a place that, that coach sees some scholarship and gives them opportunity to see them grow and develop and there not be any issue for those kids to leave for what they think is greener pastures it's certainly disappointing in what we're teaching our leaders of tomorrow. When you make a commitment, you need to see it through and you need to, to me, you're only going to have growth through setback and disappointment and failure. And, even the guys that are having ultimate success that may be freshman All-Americans and, certainly all conference players at mid-majors that are making the decision to leave. To me, that's disappointing. And that message that we're sending the future leaders of tomorrow is not a good one. So I think that's disappointing. And, in some situations, maybe it's good that the kid has a scholarship taken away or he's not playing. That's one thing. But, when you're having an all-conference type player or a freshman All-American from a mid-major leaving that no one else recruited but that mid-major program and that coach, that to me is disappointing that we are where we are. We're pushing 5,000 kids in the portal currently, and that rounds out to about 32% of all of college baseball, Division III, II, and I. So I just think it's a terrible message that we're sending our young people.
Rob, a couple things or a couple guys I wanted to get your thoughts on that we saw this year in some real positive moments. And I'm sure you're asked a lot just because he was a local phenom out of high school, and Drew Christo and his growth, his development, what you're kind of looking for out of him. And then we knew once Will Walsh got past the injury situation he dealt with a year ago that he could help. But did you ever sort of anticipate that he could help this squad and what we saw there in the Big Ten tournament the way he did it, and what you kind of see for both of those guys going forward?
Well, Drew Christo is one of the finest young men I've ever been around in my coaching career through all the setback and disappointment and not being who everyone else on the outside expected him to be right away coming in. Drew Christo has never flinched. He's never held his head down. He's never not had a positive attitude. He's never been at the front of the line when it comes to work and consistency and being a great teammate. He just needs to really focus on simplifying his delivery, being able to repeat it, because the stuff's never been a question. And it's all about the command and being in front of the count instead of chasing the count. And I just know with his work ethic, his makeup, his attitude, and who he is as a person, that guy's gonna grow into who he's supposed to be. And again, everybody's on a different schedule. It's just not the same for everyone. And for some guys, it takes a little bit longer for the light to come on. But I know his care factor and his work ethic is going to allow him to be a success, and I can't wait to work with him when he gets back here in the fall. And I know he and Will Rizzo were in Alaska and, working hard every day and doing great things. And Will Walsh, I mean, perseverance defines who that kid is. I mean, from his elbow to his hand to his knee to all the surgeries to finally get healthy and, to be a guy that ended up being kind of the back end of our rotation anchor, and certainly had a great finish and is having a good summer out in the Coastal Plains League, and he's getting to hit as well, and as a guy that can really impact the baseball, not just as a hitter, not just a pitcher only for us. So Will's a neat kid, and a kid that's never said why me, and it's always been why not me, and I'm going to overcome this. So he's a fun one to be around, and he's a great example for others in the program.
Rob Childress, Nebraska pitching coach, joining us. What do you attribute? There are more guys, Rob, that I think in college are pumping it at 95 plus or are throwing 90-mile-an-hour sliders. I mean, everybody talks about the launch angle of hitters and the ball's going further. And then I'm looking, man, we got some major power arms that are spread out through college baseball. Do you observe the same thing? And if yes, why do you think we have more power arms in the college game these days?
No, I think it's a great question. I mean, 15 years ago, if you called and said, hey, Rob, there's a guy that's touching 90 out here in Dannenbrog, Nebraska, I'm going to get in my truck and I'm going to be out there by lunch. And, but today, 95 is the new 90. I mean, you tell me a guy out there is throwing 90, everybody throws 90. But if you told me 95, I would be getting in my truck right now, and we'd just finish this conversation in the pickup. But I think it's a lot of velocity overtraining, the drive line, the tread, and all those things that we're training. With that comes a lot of great paydays in the draft, on draft day, right? But really, I mean, people are going to make their money in the big leagues, and what we're getting away from is the art of pitching, being able to throw a 1-0 breaking ball and a 2-1 change, and we're concerned so much with spin rate and velocity and all those different things. And with that comes injuries, number one, and certainly having guys that, maybe 95, 96 miles an hour that have no ability to throw a 1-0 breaking ball or a 2-1 change. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most, because, certainly the guys that ascend to the big leagues are the ones that can do that with the velocity. Guys that are 95 and 98, they can throw the pitch backwards a little bit and throw the 1-0 change. Those are the guys that are making it to the big leagues. I mean, there's a lot of guys getting signed that in hopes that they can figure out how to pitch that don't get out of A ball. So I think it's a lot of the velocity overtraining and different things like that going on. And certainly guys that are doing baseball only year round, and they're training year round for sport specific baseball.
And, with that being said too, and I don't know if you have a full diagnosis of this or not, and Sharpie and I have talked about this, whether we were watching a Nebraska game or we're watching some College World Series games where, someone's got it rolling and then all of a sudden it gets sideways. And you mentioned having sort of that strike throwing mentality of what you want to see with your guys. I don't know if there is a statistic out there that says, walks are up, free passes are up. I'm not sure, but there just seems like times it feels that way where a guy just completely gets off beam. And I always wondered, with the data that's now available and the analytics and how that's such a big part of the baseball game, if sometimes there could be a little paralysis by analysis, there could be a little bit of the overthinking of the data and just not kind of going back to the old mentality of just sitting back, rocking fire. Like, I mean, what do you kind of see when guys are just really struggling sometimes to find the strike zone? And we're talking about talented arms here too.
Well, you're right. I mean, and you're talking about guys that are coming into their freshman year of college and wanting the ice cream with sprinkles and with cherry and with all the toppings on it, but have yet to master vanilla.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what matters most. And, I can't tell you how many guys go, well, that was a great pitch. It was 2,750 spin rate and it was well executed. I'm like, well, it just got hit over the fence. It's not that good a pitch if it gets hit over the fence. And so let's talk about getting outs. And if hitting's timing, pitching is, disrupting timing and being able to beat hitters from back to front from a velocity standpoint with a fastball and a changeup. And side to side is important as well. But, kids today have seen so many, like Gary said, 90-mile-an-hour sliders. I mean, that's not a big deal. So how do you beat them today? You got to beat them up and down and front to back with the change of speeds. And, that's the art that we have got to make sure that we're great at here.
Well, I'm so glad that you came back to Nebraska and now you're back in a role where you're impacting young men. I mean, anybody that has gotten to know you and your wife, Amanda, you guys are great people. We've been friends for a long time, but I do have to ask you this question. So for people that don't know your entire family, you've got a son and then you've got a daughter, Hannah, who is, great. I can still see her as a toddler running around the ballpark. And now she's all grown up and she's impacting people's lives on a daily basis as a teacher. But when she comes to you, Rob, and she says, Dad, I'm dating a baseball player. He's a Nebraska pitcher. What was your reaction? Because now Byron and Hannah are married. They got married last October. But when she told you that she was dating a baseball pitcher, what was your first reaction?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I've gotten a chance to be around baseball players for 30 years of my life, and I know they're great young men and highly motivated. And, Byron is a great son-in-law and, just fun to watch their marriage grow and them to be parents. And with Parker, who's 3 years old, and my son Max played his freshman year at Hutch Community College for Ryan Smith and had a great freshman year, loved his teammates and coaches. And at the end of the season, sat down with Coach Smith and made the decision that he was just going to get on with school. And so he's going to start his sophomore year here in the fall at the University of Nebraska and be a student and go that way. So we got the whole band back together here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Man, that is awesome. Congratulations. Thanks for your time. I know you're busy on the recruiting trail. Good luck in the draft and finishing up, and we will see you down the road.
You bet. Thank you guys very much.
That's Rob Childress, Nebraska's pitching coach 2.0. We did the 98 through 2005 and I've been back for a couple of years as an analyst, and it was not easy seeing guys that you basically either you recruited or you coached that are in those roles and you don't want to step on people's toes. And for people that have heard us talk about it and you were around it, Rob followed his role.
Yes.
He was not looking over. I mean, Jeff had all authority on pitching. I mean, they shared ideas, but Jeff was the pitching coach and Rob respected that.
Yeah.
And he was not there to fix pitching. He was there to be an asset to the program and what needed. And he did his work of his title as an analyst. And now he's moved back into the pitching coach role. And you will see throwing strikes will be paramount for this pitching staff. You don't throw strikes, you'll be sitting in the dugout next to him. He's always had that philosophy. And you can see that from his previous time here. Guys that don't throw strikes, don't pitch. Guys that are strike throwers, they're going to get plenty of opportunities, whether they're starting on a Friday night or they're coming in the middle of a game on a Tuesday.
And I think his line about not mastering vanilla is spot on as you could be, because we've talked about it many days after a Nebraska game. We talked about it in the College World Series too. When you do not have that ability to do the basic, most simple thing, and I understand when people listen to us maybe talk on the radio, like, well, of course that goes without saying, you got to throw strikes. You'd think so, right? You'd think that would go without being said, but sometimes you have to remind people how important that truly is when guys have that inability. And I've always thought that there's a lot of data out there. You're looking at spin rate. You're looking at so many different factors of each pitch that you throw. And when you can get too fixated on some of the numbers and not the actual spot that ball is going to or where it needs to go, and just getting back to the basics and simplifying a lot of those things. It's one thing that we know about Rob's ability to develop, but his way to communicate that as well. And those last 2 years, he said, in a support role, I think that was exactly what he was. He was support for Jeff Christie. He was support for Will Bolt. They were able to, go back to the lab, during the offseason and, during the week getting ready for games to have some plans that I'm sure Rob was very much a part of. But it wasn't that Rob was saying, hey, Jeff, this is what you need to do. He was a source to Jeff. And I think Jeff, I think if he wants to continue to coach elsewhere, I think Jeff is going to have that ability to do so, because I think this was a very important moment for him as well. In having to kind of deal with that adversity, but also being able to manage a staff where I think Jeff did some good things. But when you think about now where this program needs to go as far as their place in the Big Ten, a big part of it is how they throw the baseball, how they pitch the baseball. And for Nebraska baseball fans, probably don't need to tell you this, but you got one of the very best in the game.
All right, 24 past the hour. That'll be up on the radio replay page. Please share it with your friends, especially the part about sprinkles and mastering vanilla.
It's amazing.
Steve Sipple, who master of a lot, is coming up here in about 15 minutes. But first, let's get an update with Jimmy.
I don't know if Sip, I'd peg him as a vanilla ice cream guy. So I don't know. You would know best. Okay.
Sip's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that's how I picture it.
He's not really a Neapolitan guy.
If there's 31 flavors. He's getting 30 of them.
Depends on what day of the week it is.
Gwinnett beats the Storm Chasers 8-7, fourth straight loss for them when they fall back to 500 at 40-40. Omaha took a 3-0 lead in the second inning with an RBI double from Angelo Castellano and a 2-run single from Samad Taylor. Logan Porter hit a solo homer in the top of the third to extend their lead to 4-1, but Jesus Aguilar answered with a grand slam in the bottom of the inning to put Gwinnett ahead 5-4. The Chasers then scored 2 runs in the fifth, one in the sixth to regain the lead, but Gwinnett tied it again in the bottom of the sixth, and then got a walk with the bases loaded that scored. The guy's name is Chadwick Trump. That's awesome. Anyway, they play again tonight at 6:05. Mike Trout, not awesome for him. He underwent successful surgery yesterday to repair a broken hamate bone he sustained when he fouled off a pitch Monday night. And Angels manager Phil Nevin confirmed the standard projected timeline of 4 to 8 weeks for his return. Shohei Ohtani was in the lineup as the DH a day after coming out of the game of the sixth inning because of a blister on the middle finger of his pitching hand. Ohtani said that he is not planning on pitching in the All-Star game next week in Seattle. It remains to be seen whether he'll DH for the American League. Last night in baseball, a pissed-off Ellie De La Cruz hit a 455-foot home run in Washington and then pointed to the plastic sensor covering the end of his bat, a reference to umpires forcing him to remove it earlier in the game. He went on to add 2 doubles and a run scored after the home run as the Reds won 9-2 to make it 3 in a row over the Nats. De La Cruz, one of the top rookies in baseball, and has been kind of a symbol of Cincinnati's rise to the top of the division, had an empty sensor cover on the knob of his bat, but it was removed after Nationals manager Davey Martinez questioned its use before De La Cruz batted in the second. Umpires reviewed the legality of the knob cover with the league office and informed De La Cruz he was allowed to put it back on his bat for a second at bat in the third.
You had some nickels or something in there.
Yeah, something.
Hey,
weight differential.
He's so, nationally, baseball is not a conversation, especially for sports talk radio, unless you're in a city that has a major league team.
Mm-hmm.
But players like Ohtani, to a lesser extent, Acuna, who should be more.
Yeah.
But Ellie De La Cruz can get people nationally to talk about baseball, the way he's played. And then you have an incident like that last night where he basically went the Albert Bell kissing his biceps on his look back to the Nationals dugout.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to ask, what happened to the Nationals after 19?
Well, here's what was great, too, is David Martinez.
Was this in Game 7?
David Martinez, he spoke afterwards, said he was not a fan of the gesture. He wasn't trying to suggest that there was something controversial. He just wanted an explanation. And he thought that was unnecessary to point at. I loved it.
Good. They lose every game. Their stupid Baby Shark song.
They're angry right now.
Bitter. Anyway, a cameraman was injured last night at Yankee Stadium when he was hit in the head by a wild throw from Orioles rookie shortstop Gunnar Henderson, positioned right next to the Yankees dugout on the first base side. Pete Stendel of Yes Network was struck by a hurried throw from Henderson, who fired high to first as he tried to complete a double play in the fifth inning. The Yankees and their people getting hit this year. After the game, said Stendel.
It was scary.
Yeah. This one was legitimate. Like, they stopped the game for 17 minutes.
Well, there was a lot of blood.
It was he was conscious, undergoing tests at a local hospital. No further updates were expected from the network late last night. Yeah, game was delayed 17 minutes as Yankees athletic training staff and medical personnel tended to him in the camera well. Baltimore players came off the field, waited in their dugout, and Yankees and Orioles, including Henderson, watched in obvious concern. Ballpark, I mean, you could hear a pin drop. When that happens, and like you're saying, a lot of blood, yeah, that's not good. So that's thankfully it seems like he's okay, but very, very scary. So need to end this on a lighthearted note. Pete Alonso is going to get his home run derby grudge match against Julio Rodriguez, and this time it will be in front of a partisan crowd in Seattle. The first round matchup between the Mets first baseman, a two-time champion, and the Mariners center fielder highlights the slate for the derby, which is next Monday night. Winner receives a $1 million prize. After winning the previous two derbies, Alonso was beaten last year in the semifinals at Dodger Stadium by Rodriguez, then a 21-year-old rookie. The winner of number 2 seeded Alonso and number 7 seed Rodriguez will face the winner of 3rd seeded Mookie Betts, making his derby debut, and 6th seeded Vladimir Guerrero Jr. set the single round and whole derby records in 2019, but lost to Alonso in the finals. White Sox center fielder Luis Robert will be the number 1 seed on account of his 29 home runs. He'll face Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman, whose 11 homers are the fewest among the competitors. Joining Betts, Robert, and Rutschman as first-timers are the final participants, 4th-seeded Rangers outfielder Adolis Garcia and 5th-seeded Rays outfielder Randy Arozarena.
Why is Julio and Alonso going off in the first round?
I don't get the
That's what I thought.
the seeding of this.
Pete Alonso is driving the struggle bus, but still in a home run hitting competition. I like Pete, but he's going against Julio.
Yeah.
Watch out for my guy, Arozarena.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
LSU and Wake
on.
Forest playing each other in one pool. You need that for the national championship.
That year he broke through. I've been a big fan of Arozarena since.
The home run derby might be better than the game. This is a great field.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm going to have to watch now, as long as Chris Berman is there.
I don't believe Berman's on it, I hope.
Dang. Well, I won't be watching.
Oh, really?
All right. Sips coming up next. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
It's Nebraska and Texas.
Correct.
You've got to show that you have an interest, got relationships, and you've made friends down there with the coaching community and the development community. The combination of the groundwork which is being done today and the winning that you hope soon follows is the thing that's going to get you into the front door of the highest rated player.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A fantastic July day on tap for Thursday. Expect mostly sunny skies in the morning with a few more clouds in the afternoon with just a light north breeze. Potential top 10 day with highs near 80. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backwin Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a bit of a slowdown near 102nd and L. And on Center, be prepared for a minor delay from 175th to 168th. Then on Dodge, it looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from 80th to 72nd. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time saving traffic was brought to you by Lus Hills Harley Davidson.
Riding season is here, and it's time to trade in and trade up. Or, if you ain't riding it, Lus Hills Harley Davidson is buying it. Sell your Harley Davidson today. Lus Hills Harley Davidson. Rise up and ride on.
The cigar enthusiasts at Hearth Cigars and Pipes are a pretty diverse bunch of humans. Some enjoy an adult beverage or two, others pass the time with a competitive yet friendly game of dominoes. Still others enjoy shooting some pool downstairs, while more than a few are just satisfied with each other's company. The common thread with all of them is the awesomeness that is their favorite cigar from the humidor. Hearth Cigars and Pipes, just off the 48th Street exit from I-680 at the corner of Mormon Bridge Road in McKinley, and at hearthcigars.com.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Union Omaha. The season rolls on and there are matches at home throughout the month of July, including on Saturday, Star Wars night versus Richmond. I had a chance to go see Union Omaha within the last few weeks, had an awesome time, plus they picked up a big victory. How do you get involved? Well, you go to their website, unionomaha.com, and you purchase tickets today. Do not miss out on this fun environment. That's unionomaha.com.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Kids come in wanting chocolate and sprinkles, but they can't master vanilla. That's a great line from Rob Childers. Welcome back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley.
True words have never been spoken, by the way.
If you missed our chat with Nebraska's pitching coach, it'll be up on the radio replay page.
That was as good as that sums up, I think, what my frustration, your frustration, when we've watched a lot of college baseball and you see these elite arms and just the inability. I mean, you got these sliders, as you mentioned, you're coming in with a velo of like 90 miles an hour, tremendous break, change ups that are dropping off the table, fastballs that can run up to the mid 90s. Yet that inability to just hit spot after spot, zone after zone after zone, be able to get ahead of hitters. I would much rather take a guy who is throwing low 90s, like maxing out at, between 88 and 91. You always see that scouting report has the 88 to 91 is your max velo. With 2 complementary pitches, give me a good changeup, give me a reliable breaking ball, but a guy that is a strike thrower. I will take that guy every day of the week, as opposed to a guy that can give you 95 plus stuff with the good breaking ball, but so-so as a strike thrower. And guess who's going to be playing more? Guess who's going to be in the rotation more for Nebraska and should be for any college baseball team? That guy that's maybe not throwing as hard, but is throwing a lot of strikes.
We will reconnect with SIP. They've a busy day out 93.7 The Ticket. Mark Onweiler's wife's funeral is today, so we'll reschedule SIP for tomorrow. Chris writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. Michigan Lance called in earlier. He says Michigan Lance is an idiot.
Whoa! First of all, Lance is a good man.
The Big Ten doesn't have the best anything when it comes to football. The SEC has the best coach, the best players, the best fan bases. It's not even close. Michigan Lance, not an idiot. Chris will disagree on some of this. Better than Harbaugh. So that was Michigan Lance called in last hour, and we were talking about the list of coaches in the Big Ten Conference. And Harbaugh is number one. Harbaugh and Day are 1, 2, and you can't have an argument about that. Better than Harbaugh. Saban, Smart, Kiffin. I got a couple of emails talking about coaches in college football of top 10. Quite a few Kiffin run. I don't know that I would put Lane Kiffin in the top 10. Now, Lane Kiffin, since he got to Ole Miss, has started to climb the ladder on any list of the best coaches in college football. Is it a big deal that they won 2 fewer games this past season than they won in 21? I mean, they started the year 7-0, and they had that 1-5 finish.
Yep.
Remember, they lost the Egg Bowl last game that Mike Leach coached.
That should all be relevant. And
He's if Lane Kiffin was in your top 10, shouldn't he have been in your top 10 in 21?
Yeah.
Because they took a step back in 22.
Right. Yeah, he should have been.
And
was he? Was he in a lot of people's top 10 then?
It's not about success. It's about a popularity contest.
It is popularity contest.
But I disagree here. Kiffin is not better than Harbaugh. Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Dabo Swinney, yes.
Yeah, I think, and again, we forget, okay, there's the Harbaugh Michigan teams. First of all, they were up against it the first year that they made the college football playoff against that Georgia team. This last year, yeah, they were favored to beat TCU, and they should have. That's on Harbaugh's resume. But also, we can't forget the fact that they got there. They've won back-to-back. They finally slayed the dragon in Ohio State, which is something Jim Harbaugh was unable to do until he got sort of that rework contract. Now they've gone back-to-back years beating Ohio State, but also back-to-back years as Big Ten champions and making the college football playoff. That's not nothing to be amongst the 4 best teams in college football. And I don't think any of us would have debated that Michigan was one of those 4 best teams other than Nick Saban. He would tell you that they should have been there over Michigan.
You think Lincoln Riley is in the top 10 list?
Absolutely is.
And so there should be rules for the list. There's 3 guys that have won multiple titles in college football: Saban, Smart, Sweeney. So if you want to go 1, 2, 3, then you start figuring out 4, and that's probably where Lincoln Riley gets in the conversation. Did Lincoln Riley save his spot in the top 10 by going 11-3 last year with a revamped USC roster that had a 7-win improvement and had the Heisman Trophy winner?
Yeah.
Now did lose their last 2 games, but did 11-3 keep Lincoln Riley in the conversation as one of the top 5 coaches in college football? Because I would go the 3, and then in any order that you want to go: Riley, Harbaugh, Brian Kelly, Kyle Whittingham. And then Ryan Day is in there as well. I mean, Ryan Day is probably further up on any list if they make it to the final.
Yeah.
Remember, they were a poor coaching decision on settling for a 50-yard field goal away from upsetting the national champion.
Right.
Who turned around a couple weeks later and bludgeoned TCU 65-7. Now, another thing on these lists is, what kind of a bump does Sonny Dykes get?
True. I mean, what they did last year, that deserves a lot of credit there. That deserves a lot of recognition. Now, is there still, we need to see more from Sonny Dykes? Do we need to see, because if we're looking at a lot of these coaches, I don't know how you're looking at it, and I get the feeling you're kind of looking at it a similar way, where you're using a body of work. You're using a sample size that's larger than just 1 year. And that's why I think the Lane Kiffin, at least to me, that argument needs to be a little bit more, okay, let's look at the bigger picture of what he has done. And I think it is important to bring up 2022 the way that they finished as well. The Sonny Dykes conversation, it's impressive. He gets a bump for sure, but now you're wanting to see, okay, what comes after this? What comes after the roster that he inherited and what he's able to do now with his full imprint on this roster? And that's where I look at the Lincoln Riley one with what he did last year at USC, because that roster had a lot of Lincoln Riley on it. That was a lot of his imprint on that roster. So that's why I also say Lincoln Riley definitely gets a bump from that type of upgrade of a season last year.
Let's welcome in Steve Sipple's with us now from 93.7 The Ticket on 3.com. Good morning.
Sorry, a little late. Thanks for your patience.
No problem. I know there's a lot going on with you and the 93.7 The Ticket family. So our thoughts are with everybody there in Lincoln. Hey, this is the time of the year we start talking about coaching rankings. If I tell you that Harbaugh, Day are pretty much a Sharpied into 1-2 in the Big Ten in terms of their acumen, who of your preference would be maybe the 3rd best coach in the Big Ten?
Fickle.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't even hesitate.
No, I don't hesitate. I mean, it's largely, I mean, almost what he did at Cincinnati. Not totally, because he was a very good defensive coordinator at Ohio State, co-defensive coordinator, but he had a lot of. I mean, I sit next to Bush every day. Bill Bush coached with him and said he's Saban-esque in his preparation and how resolute he is about the way things need to be done. And that 6 years in Cincinnati, it's a big, it's a large sample size, and it's really incredible. After year one, it's really incredible what he did, and he produced a ton of NFL talent. And as far I think Franklin is good, James Franklin, but the COVID year wasn't good. The following year was 7-6, and whereas some people will say throw out the COVID year, I don't. I look at that more closely, because that tested everybody. It tested coaches at a super high level. I mean, and the level of organization that was needed, the level of adaptation. I mean, that's the sort of things that I would look at as a coach. How do they handle stress? How do they handle when things go poorly and you're presented with things you've never even seen? That's the ultimate test of a leader. And he failed. He brought a team into Lincoln and lost to McCaffrey. I mean, he lost to a guy that right now wouldn't start at UNK. I mean, they lost to McCaffrey. Okay. I mean, that team was not well prepared at all.
No, I had some NFL dudes catching passes though. They just couldn't catch up to
Will
Cam
Levis.
Taylor. They couldn't catch up to Cam Taylor-Britt on a pick six. I agree with you, because we do give credit to Fleck for what he was able to do during the COVID year with the amount of bodies that they had or did not have on a weekly basis. You're right. We probably initially said, it was a weird year, but the more we get away from the COVID year, I think it does show some insight into the direction and the overall leadership of a head coach. I'm with you on that one, Sip.
Okay, yeah, tested. I mean, it tested everybody, and those who handled it, it's really impressive to me. We were in the thick of it here. You guys, you watched it here at Nebraska and covered it, and we were able to cover it. We were able to get deep inside it because Scott allowed us to. I mean, what Nebraska tried to do during the COVID season was very aggressive, and therefore they wanted it. They wanted people to know what was going on. Now, it backfired. Didn't work. Their approach didn't work. Not like they thought. 3-5. This was. And by the end of the season, the kids were staffed.
Mm-hmm.
Half the team voted out of a bowl game or whatever it was. The vote was. So anyway, no, I go Fickle. I go Fickle number 3. Some people would go Fickle number 2, which is but I would go Fickle 3.
And we just mentioned PJ Fleck. You mentioned James Franklin. How far would you put Fleck outside of the top 3?
Oh, I mean, I got to think. Let me pull. What am I do? I'm gonna pull over for this one.
Didn't you just get in your car?
Well, no, I don't put my seatbelt on it.
Oh, that's right.
I don't wear a seatbelt. So yeah, clear cut number 1 is Harbaugh. Day would be 3. Day would be 2. Fickle would be 3. Franklin 4. I'd go Ferentz after that.
Okay. How close is Fleck to the top half in your opinion?
Close. I mean, he's in the top half. He's 7 or 6.
Okay.
But I would put Ferentz ahead of him and Bielema ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
And based on past records.
Sure.
I mean, those guys, Bielema won 3 Big Ten titles at Wisconsin. You can't throw out Arkansas, but he was in a tough spot at Arkansas. You can't throw what happened to Bielema out. I don't think you can do that. I mean, you can't, on one hand, say, well, look what Bielema did at Arkansas. You got to really grade him down. And then, on the other hand, use Cincinnati to enhance Fickle. I mean, what happened to Bielema happened. but he also won 3 Big Ten titles. Ferentz, I just appreciate someone who stood the test of time like that. And then, has the program's been strong. It's not, they don't go that next step, but I think it was 2014 where they were about a yard away from being in the college football playoff. So that's how I do it. I flexing that right in the middle of the conference.
Hey, I know you got a chance to see Phil Steele's Nebraska preview in the magazine and his position rankings. Where do you think he was completely wrong? He's complimentary about the future of Nebraska football, not so much on the talent that is on the 23 roster, but the talent that's on the 23 roster, where do you think he was wrong?
Well, I was surprised on a couple counts. I mean, I thought maybe Newsome would be, so he ranks draft eligible players, and Newsome's not in his top 50 corners. But Buschini not being in the top 20 punters, I guess that was surprising to me. Draft eligible punters, there's 20 of them he lists, and Buschini's not one of them. Where was he completely wrong on Nebraska?
I mean, because he's kind of like with us, the offensive line and defensive line are near the bottom of his Power 5 rankings.
Well, the defensive line wasn't even ranked in the top 60. It was unranked. He ranked 60 defensive lines, and Nebraska wasn't ranked. I don't know what to say about that.
Well, it's not surprising.
I don't know if I can build much of an argument for Nebraska, but if you're a Nebraska fan, if you got to think about some of the teams that are ahead of them, James Madison, Navy, Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they shouldn't be ahead of Nebraska in defensive line talent. So the offensive line was 63rd. We've beat up that offensive line pretty good. I don't think anybody takes too much of an issue with that. The issue is how do you now this is where it gets dicey. How do you win in the Big Ten if Steele's right? Now Steele's not always right. That's the thing. It's not ironclad that he's right about these rankings. But if he is right, it's really tough. And those people that say it would be really difficult for Nebraska to reach a bowl game can look at that and say, see, this is what I'm talking about. How do you win 7 games, as a Big Ten team if your lines are that substandard? Well, part of it is you got 3 easy. You have 3 pretty easy, should be easy non-conference games, like Colorado. I don't know what to make of it, but the other 2 should be. So you get 3, I would think. Now, can you find 3 more? I would think so.
And Sip, we kind of talked about this a little bit of the sobering reality of what that and other preseason publications do sort of reveal about the Nebraska roster, and it makes me kind of go back to each first year from the previous coaches, and we can just use the previous staff and the fans, the excitement that Scott Frost was here. You didn't hear a lot of the first year expectation talk. It was more of people were just sort of euphoric that he was here and eventually it would take off. And I know everybody was kind of circling year 2. Heck, even Scott Frost said that was the time to get him because year 2, it should pop. Do you feel like what we're kind of seeing in the narrative around Matt Rule in this first year is this is going to be that necessary evil? Yeah, year 2 is where you could kind of focus, but a lot of the reality with the roster is kind of really tamping any type of real expectations down, that this could actually be a good thing for Matt Rule and this staff to kind of work through that here in the first year.
Yeah.
Because it does feel different than what it did when Scott was first here, because I just don't think people really knew what to expect from a record standpoint because they were happy that he was finally here.
Right. It's definitely different. I think people are more realistic. They're more reality-based now.
Right.
I think there's optimism, but it's tempered by what we've seen the last several years, which is really hard to fathom. And it's sort of difficult to even sort of difficult to talk about in some ways. That wow, this has happened here.
Yeah.
So now, like a lot of things involving humans, there's some complication because Matt Rule, he sends a more optimistic tone. I mean, he strikes a more optimistic tone about what he inherited.
Mm-hmm.
He says himself, this isn't what I walked into at Temple or Baylor. This isn't a colossal mess at all. The GPA was high. He has talked about NFL level talent on the roster, not everywhere, but he himself has struck this optimistic tone, which is interesting. And I don't know. It all kind of goes back to this. They look like a team with a ceiling of about 8 wins, and they look like a team that's probably no worse than 4-8. So it kind of all goes back to that. Maybe it goes back to something that's sort of predictable. What you hope is you see something wildly unpredictable, and they win 9 or 10. It doesn't, but it's the schedule's manageable by Big Ten standards.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a good chance that Nebraska might be playing one possession games the first 2 weeks out of the box. That's the other great unknown. I mean, that's any coaching transition with a first-year staff that inherits a roster and then brings in other players so that they can be a full roster. We don't know who's going to pop that has been on the milk carton for a couple of years. Like all of a sudden, we've wondered about a Nash Hutmacher. Like Nash Hutmacher might turn out to be just what Nebraska needs for the 23 season. I think there's those great unknowns, but there's also the unknown of how do you win close football games? Is it more on Matt Rule being involved in close football games, or is it the players that are on the field that now have a different voice in their head about how we win those games?
Well, that's part of it. There's 2 things that Matt, I think he's done a really good job. And I don't know that he ever says, I'm doing this so we have a better chance to win football games. I don't know if I've ever heard him do it, but I think he's doing it for this reason. He's fostering some things and doing some things in practice for this reason. For instance, I think he's doing a good job of fostering chemistry and unity. For instance, staying together in the dorm rooms for the first 2 weeks of preseason camp. Okay, how do you win close games? Well, any coach would tell you some of it is just if you have a team that's fighting for each other, good chemistry, good unity, good leadership. That's not an X's and O's thing. It's an intangible, but it helps. That's any coach would tell you. That's winning games that go down to the end. If guys are fighting for each other, you have a better chance. The other thing he did during the spring was a lot of situational football.
Yep.
A lot, an emphasis on knowing just simple things like down and distance, but also what we're looking for in this particular situation. And a lot of it is late game situation. And you, as a coach, you have to drill that into guys' heads. And late game situations, close game situations, it's meaningful for players to understand exactly what they're in and exactly what needs to happen, in certain situations. So I do think he's addressing it and in meaningful ways. And that, hey, I'm glad you brought it up. I bring it up all the time. I'm a broken record. If Nebraska is going to have, a season that we would deem special versus season we would deem either disappointing or just kind of blah, it's going to come down to, do they win some close games?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, there's come on. I mean, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but can't you easily say 7 or 8 games probably are going to be close in the fourth quarter?
No doubt.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, I think for years to come, that's what it's going to be about. Can you win those close games?
Yep. Sip, we appreciate it. I know it's not an easy day for you guys down at the ticket. Our thoughts with the Onweilers. Mark is a really, really generous person, and it's just a horrible story about his wife passing away from cancer at the age of 27. I just can't believe it, but I know you guys have been strong, and I know there's a lot of people in the radio family that are looking out for you guys.
Well, thank you for those steps.
Yep. Appreciate it, Sip.
All right, take care.
It's Stephen M. Sipple from 93.7 The Ticket. Oh, look at the Big Ten West. The Big Ten West is going to be a jumbled.
Yep.
I mean, Wisconsin,
Typically is.
Wisconsin, Iowa,
maybe Minnesota, Illinois,
Minnesota, Nebraska,
mm-hmm.
Purdue, Northwestern. So there's 3 tiers of teams in the Big Ten West: Wisconsin, Iowa, and then you have, based on the talent they have, Minnesota, Illinois, Nebraska, and then you have Purdue, Northwestern below that. So you got 3 tiers. But this is, I agree with Sip. There could be 7 games where they're one-score type games going into the fourth quarter. I think the first 2 will be that way.
I think you're right. And I think it's going to be interesting to see immediately, having those out of the gate, what, if anything, looks different early on. And then once you get to those, say, in the second half of the season, it doesn't look any different. Hopefully, like out of the gate, you notice something different. But as this thing progresses, as you know it will, there's just going to be some things that do look different. Hopefully it's for the better, but how do you handle yourself right out of the gate? What did that in the spring that was just so situationally driven? How has that prepared these guys for those games right out of the gate? Because I'm with you. I think that Minnesota game has a chance to be that way, Colorado especially.
I would love for the first game to be a one-possession game just to see how guys handle it. You have a quarterback who hasn't been around here. So he doesn't have that all of a sudden, here we go again.
Right.
There's actually fewer guys that'll be on the field that have that, There'll be more guys who are like, you mean this is the thing here?
Yeah.
Nebraska's Nebrasking?
What is that?
All right. Brian Edwards in the last hour. We're going to try and figure out why the guy from DoorDash is so upset. And Arizona State going to be playing hockey in the NCHC. Big news out of that conference, the premier conference in college hockey yesterday. We're till 10. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Smith for Ted and Wally's, 2 locations, one in the O Market and in Benson. What goes better after a wonderful meal? Say you're in Benson looking for a great place to eat. You roll into Taste of New Orleans. You get your po' boy, maybe have a little bit of gumbo. And what goes with that? Ice cream, ultra premium ice cream from Ted and Wally's. You swing into Ted and Wally's, whether it's a quart or a half a gallon or just a couple of scoops, you're going to love the ice cream at Ted and Wally's. So many different flavors and so many locations. 2 of them, in fact, Old Market and Benson. And when you go there, tell them Severe sent you.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists. Does it matter where you get your pre-approval? As a consumer, you have lots of choices when it comes to getting a mortgage pre-approval. You can go online or a mortgage professional like Mortgage Specialists. However, not every lender is the same. Online processing tools can pre-approve you in minutes, but it's more likely very inaccurate. We recommend that prospective buyers get pre-approved by a local lender. When you work with reputable local lenders, the pre-approval means what it means. You get a real evaluation of what you can borrow, and you and your real estate agent can have peace of mind through the entire process. Find out about pre-approvals and more when you subscribe to Mortgage Matters in Minutes on our YouTube channel. Just search Mortgage Specialists LLC.
Click mtg-specialists.com. NMLS number 5918, Equal Housing Lender.
If you're tired of trading one dead-end job for another, trade your job for a career. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers has positions open right now. As an IBEW electrician, you'll get training, higher pay, paid healthcare, and retirement. Build a better life for you and your family. Make it happen. Call 402-810-0789 right now. That's 402-810-0789 or get details at IBEW22.org.
It's the most time-honored tradition to start the weekend, grabbing a cold one from a local Nebraska brewery. Let's be real here. It's hot outside, and you don't want to drink the same boring beer as those Hawkeye fans. Drink icy cold, Nebraska-brewed beers, cider, or seltzers instead. Each week, we're putting the spotlight on a unique Nebraska brewery with One Beer Friday. Share your brew on social media with the hashtag One Beer Friday, and you'll be entered to win a $25 gift card to a local Nebraska brewery. Nebraska is the good life with great beer. Click nebraska.beer to learn more.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backwin Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Street at Cornhusker Road, so please be cautious if you're in that area. On Dodge, be prepared for a minor delay from 94th to 90th, and along Industrial Road, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from 138th to 120th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelt. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call 402-810-0789 or visit IBEW22.org today.
Hey, folks, is your concrete in need of repair? Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts and a Best of Omaha winner, Everlevel Concrete Repair. They can completely restore and repair your concrete at a fraction of the price compared to replacement and offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. There's a reason they're a Best of Omaha winner. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
We've all had this happen. Somebody says something about a thing, and then a couple of days later, you see an ad for that thing pop up on your news feed. Weird, right? Well, in an honest attempt at not being weird, Langfeld Overhead Doors would like you to remember them when you or your friends need a new garage door. You can trust the professionals at Langfeld Overhead Door to repair or replace your garage door. You can also trust them not to listen in on your conversations, because that's weird. Langfeld Overhead Door, 402-234-2700.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620, The Zone.
Now you go to SeatGeek. I'd prefer you go to Tickets for Less, but if you go to SeatGeek, average price for the Notre Dame Ohio State non-con game in South Bend is $512. Hey. Notre Dame is worried that Ohio State fans will invade their stadium.
Sounds familiar.
Oh.
So I'll just send a picture of the 2000 game to every Notre Dame fan that is worried about that. There's no way that Ohio State's red could top Nebraska's red for 2000.
You think there's ever been an attempt to Photoshop, if you're Notre Dame, when you show any type of game, if there's like a series breakdown, if Nebraska would ever play Notre Dame again, that they would show that stadium, that they would Photoshop out a lot of that red.
Yeah.
Make it a little more blurry.
They just make the whole
tell
stadium.
what's going on.
They don't make the whole stadium green.
Yeah, there you go.
Now you could spin
Just
this
green it
as Notre Dame has, we have a sacred stadium that people want to come visit.
Sure.
And so that's why a lot of Ohio State fans want to come to the game.
It's a tourist destination.
Mm-hmm.
All you tourists, enjoy your stay. We'll take your money.
Yeah, not so much. But that would be another bad look for Notre Dame. They have a bunch of Ohio State fans, but it makes more sense to Ohio. It actually makes more sense for Ohio State to take over that stadium than it did for Nebraska, because Columbus to South Bend is.
See, the best part about it would be if you were ever, say Michigan State took off to where they were just traveling in droves and they're going to Notre Dame Stadium. You're just like, all right, we make it a green out then. So that way Michigan State fans blend in too. It's easy to notice. You're like, well, okay.
Or they spin it to see we really did take over their stadium.
Yeah. Or see, that is actually true too. I guess that could be a little bit of a backfire as well.
I missed those 2 months ago when we got all excited about the takeover of the Colorado game, Folsom Field?
Oh, it'll come back. Don't worry.
Really?
It'll come back as we get into the.
I don't feel like we talk much about Colorado lately. I've been kind of
Well, it's-
disappointed.
After Dion's health deal,
Dion's on the mend.
everyone
You know,
feels
you
guilty.
Yeah, feel kind of weird doing that. You
Dion
know?
have 2 feet when the game. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad Dion didn't have to go that route. All seriousness, that would be awful. But just Dion's on the mend. We're
He'll come back.
July.
We'll get the football blood
I do.
going.
I
the
feel like
juices and-
I feel like when we are now like it's like within our sight because we are. Hey, that's still pretty awesome.
56 days.
Yeah.
56 days. It will be.
I was looking
8 weeks before we get going there.
I was looking at the CBS list, the national list, and where Dion is. So he's 7th in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
That's all about name recognition. Remember, there's a popularity contest. He's 55th in the country, which they rank the Power 5, which there are 69.
And that's probably fair, I would think.
Well, he's ahead of some guys that were.
That's
like I think Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State's going to be a good hire. Tom Allen, who remember the COVID year?
Oh, the stock on Tom Allen was through the roof.
Well, they were 14-7 in 19 and 20, but they're 6-18 in the last 2 years, and I'm not sure how he kept his job.
Yep.
Another guy who has fallen out of favor, and there's a Nebraska connection, is Neil Brown.
Yep.
Neil Brown brings Troy into Lincoln and beats Nebraska. Last year they were 5-7.
Yeah.
There was speculation that he could lose his job.
His seat will be very warm to start the year.
But if you remember that year when they beat Nebraska, Neil Brown's name was up for a lot of other jobs too. So
Dion is ahead of Justin Wilcox, who might have the toughest job in Power 5, coaching at Cal.
Yeah.
High academic standards in the world of the transfer portal. They don't have a lot of money. They have invested some money into their stadium, maybe because they had to, because the thing was falling down. But working at Cal, regardless of sport, you always have to wonder if the administration is just going to say, you know what? We don't want sports.
Yeah.
Like, especially football. Justin Wilcox has had his moments, but did he stay too long? Because he was 20-18 in his first 3 years, but there are only 10-18 since.
Yeah.
So he has had some wins, and you're like, wow, Justin Wilcox is a really good coach. But he has stuck around at a place that doesn't care about football for way too long.
Yep.
Dion is also ahead of Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. But he's behind Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati and Dino Babers. And here's where reality hits you when it's list season. Hello, Oklahoma. So if you saw the all Big 12 team yesterday, Oklahoma has one player, first team, offense or defense, one player. KU has 4, including Daniels, the offensive player of the year in the preseason for the Big 12.
It's like a bizarre world.
So Venables
celebrated it yesterday.
Venables is 52nd on this list. 52nd after their woeful season last year. They've recruited fairly well.
Yeah.
They've dabbled with the portal. They still have Dylan Gabriel, who is, I think, the 3rd best quarterback in the Big 12. I'd put him behind Daniels, Ewers, and then there'd be Gabriel. Will Howard has got to be in there as well.
I like Will
But
Howard.
Venables is an interesting one. Here's another one that I was thinking about, coaches, and he's got a Nebraska connection. How is the stock on Dave Aranda?
It was great at one point.
Well, when you're 12-2, and you go to the Sugar Bowl, but was last year like a major letdown in Waco?
Yeah.
They were a game below 500. I remember going over to watch them play against Iowa State, and at the time you're thinking, man, that guy's coming to Nebraska.
Exactly.
Dave Aranda's going to be the next head coach at Nebraska. Lo and behold, did we know that the previous head coach at Baylor was going to be the head coach at Nebraska? But that Baylor team, and at the time I thought Iowa State was pretty good, and Iowa State turned out offensively just to be an absolute crater. But where's Dave Aranda's spot in the college football world?
They had some bad losses down the stretch.
I think
K-State
there was a time that it was top 10.
Because doesn't Baylor just have one player on the preseason All Big 12? Rule screwed him with the recruiting. I'm kidding.
951-1620.
There it is. So it's funny in the Big 12, I think of 2 of those coaches that I would say had pretty high stock. Now, I get more pushback on one compared to the other. Dave Aranda, I still think, has a stock that is respectable. I was on the Matt Campbell train early on last year as far as potential replacements when Scott Frost was fired. There's a lot of things about Matt Campbell that I still do like.
Oh yeah, I'm still on the Matt Campbell.
I do like Matt Campbell, but there was a lot of people that were like, "You want this? Like, what has he really done?" I'm like, these are the type of coaches that I always thought when there was that narrative of if Scott Frost can't, then who could do it? Well, the type of guy that has been sort of on the come, who's climbed, from the Group of Five to the Power Five, has had now experience in the Power Five, is able to basically leave a place much better than what he took over. So that was sort of a blueprint that I always found intriguing. And I thought Matt Campbell fit that to a T. But then as the season progressed, Iowa State started losing games. There was a pretty average look by an Iowa State team that some people had some high hopes for. Then I didn't lose a lot of my confidence in who Matt Campbell was as a coach, but I understood people getting really edgy about it. I was in the same with Dave Aranda early on too, thinking, boy, Dave Aranda could be a really good fit here in Lincoln. And then they kind of disappointed there down the stretch too. Is like, I know you've got to look at the body of work beyond a season, but we all know we are prisoners of the moment as well. And that one, again, from my, I wouldn't even call it a hot take, but my wish list, it wasn't aging well as the season progressed for both of those teams. But I would say Aranda's stock is still decent. It's definitely it took
one good year from being
it took
back.
a major hit last year for sure.
Matt Campbell's probably that way. Matt Campbell was 4-8.
Yep.
Iowa
took a big hit.
Iowa State football has never won 9 games in a regular season. Never.
It's just crazy to
And he
think.
made changes on his staff.
Well, so on the other part of this, about these lists being more popularity contests than actually success, and I just don't get how you can shift year to year like some of the shifts that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is Lance Leipold all of a sudden a top 25 coach?
But I think he is.
I think he is. I mean, I'll be called biased, but I've
think he
been
is.
high on him since long before he was a coach at Kansas.
Okay, I love what Lance is doing. I think he's a really good football coach. It's rare. I think this is the first time in over a decade that Kansas returns every single coach from the previous year, which is just wild to think about. So stability is everything. We talked about Pat Fitzgerald earlier.
Yeah, definitely
Why doesn't, and I know they lost their stud quarterback, and thankfully he's back because that's good for college football. But why don't people talk about KU was 1-7 in their last 8?
Yeah.
Okay, they got 5-0 and they got all the
5-0.
publicity in the world. They're headed in the right direction. They've got good talent. They've recruited well. It's amongst they might end up with the best player they've ever had commit to Kansas football when it's all said and done. The class is pretty good. There's a lot of excitement this year, but they did go 6-7.
That's true.
And
Like,
their
if I-
one
like-
win came against an Oklahoma State team that was falling apart.
Like if I didn't tell you, if I didn't tell you that, if I didn't give you the record of Lance Leipold last year, what would you think it was?
You would think it was an 8-4 season.
He had the best season since Mangino went 8-5 in 08.
Yeah. So you would have thought it was at least a 7 but an 8-win season. The narrative around Kansas football, for sure.
And the win against Iowa State, their kicker missed 3 field goals in a 14-11 game.
But see how these are the popularity contests. Like Matt Campbell, I think was top 25 last year.
He was. Yeah.
Matt Campbell bounces back out. Lance Leipold probably was nowhere near. Actually, I'll look this up.
I bet he was like 50 something.
He was 42nd.
Okay.
So he jumped 19 spots.
Yeah.
Very much popularity. Now they had success, but again, they were 6-7.
Yeah.
And they might actually be 6-7 wins this year.
Athlon has them 7-5. Yeah.
And the
I could
thing
see
about
them
it
being
is
1 or 2 higher, 1 or 2 lower.
with it being a popularity contest, the reason I would say I don't mind Lance Leipold being a top 25 coach is because I'm also factoring in what he did at Buffalo. Like as a coach, from what I've seen of him as he's progressed, I think you have to look at what he did at Buffalo too. Because I would say, okay, if Chris Kleiman is a top 25 coach,
which I think he is,
you're factoring in North Dakota State as well. But what he, that thing's a machine. What you inherit also has to, all that context is, I think, is relevant if you're trying to look at this in a consistent manner of establishing one of these lists, because you're right. You can see some coaches where you can make the argument and say, yeah, they belong there. And then you see other ones that have radically moved from one place to the other. It's like, okay, you can't just use 1 year against them unless all of a sudden they just started tripping all over themselves and started calling onside kicks like every other player. They start, all of a sudden you just lose the ability to coach.
Lance Leipold can coach football. He's a top 25 coach. There's a reason why he was one of the 2 candidates for the job here. I mean, Lance Leipold is a really, really good football coach. But talk about year to year bouncing up and down, like Mike Norvell. So Mike Norvell, this time last year, if we're looking at this list, he's near the bottom of Power 5 head football coaches. And then what happened? They had a great season. They have got a lot of momentum. Look at all the talent they have coming back. They are a recruiting machine. He appears to have both feet on the ground. And now all of a sudden he's a top 25 coach.
So tell me he couldn't coach before?
Now here's what's scary. Oh, no, you're right. He could coach at Memphis. He was a good football coach at Memphis. And he walked into a situation at Florida State where, oh boy, I mean, it's not as rosy as it looked from the outside. And you were not the guy everybody wanted.
Right.
Okay, that guy now is in Boulder. To some Florida State fans, I should add. But he's a guy that if they do this 2 straight years in Tallahassee, could Mike Norvell be knocking on the door as a top 10 football coach in college football?
Yep.
Yes, because prisoners of the moment.
But again,
his only winning season was this past year.
Right.
He does it again, and they win 10 football games. Like if they start the year and they beat LSU in Orlando, and they roll through the ACC, and all of a sudden you go, Florida State's back. Is Mike Norvell all of a sudden a top 10 coach?
Yes, because you can also factor in where he was previously and what he did. Like, to me, that matters because you're seeing a pattern.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I think people forget about it. They sometimes use the past against a coach, or they don't take it into account to sort of
we got to do it both
fit the narrative. That's the problem with these things.
Now, again, another problem is Chip Kelly is in the top 15. They were only 1 win better than they were the year before, when he was like 20 slots down. Okay, so here's how these lists can fluctuate. And it's a popularity contest.
It's a hot or not list.
Jimbo Fisher. So of the guys in college football right now that have a national championship, Jimbo Fisher is one of those guys. He just doesn't have multiple ones. And that championship at Florida State. And maybe in some of these rankings, winning the national title at Florida State doesn't carry as much weight anymore because he hasn't adjusted. Now he's at a different place, and Texas A&M probably has not matched the talent they've accumulated, and they've got more talent going out the door than they've got coming in. I just saw they got a 5-star wide receiver. Can't wait. I'll see you in February in the portal, son. Okay? In a couple of years.
Don't terminate that relationship. Stay close.
So, but if Texas A&M in the West, if Texas A&M is winning the West or in second, like they dislodge LSU or Alabama from one of those slots, doesn't Jimbo Fisher bounce back up?
Oh, of course he does.
And he gives half a help to Bobby Petrino.
Yeah. And can we all agree? And I don't know where people want to put him amongst the top 25, like legitimately, like realistically, but can't we just say that's been one of the more disappointing looks in the last couple of years based on what they've recruited, at least what recruiting rankings would tell us, and what they've been able to establish with NIL, transfer portal, even though the transfer portal's worked against them too. But, and then the turnover, the roster turnover, as you just mentioned, we kind of laugh at it, but you're probably right. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of red flags around Jimbo Fisher where you could say, yeah, he can still coach, but is he now underachieving with what he's acquiring talent-wise? And what he's unable to keep. Like that to me should also impact how you look at this thing. I get it. Body of work matters. So you should still use the national championship at Florida State. But when you look at what he is doing in a different place, not Florida State anymore, where he's doing it in a different place with the type of resources and the investment they are making to better that roster, are you maximizing what you have out of that roster? And right now, in a short period of time, I would lean towards no, you're not.
All right, when we come back, a DoorDash driver is upset at a $5 tip that a customer left after ordering $20 of pizza.
Well,
and we asked the question, what has happened to our society?
I got thoughts.
People are very, very upset at this guy who went to a nice neighborhood and only got $5 on his tip of a $20 pizza. We will discuss. He was caught on camera, was not very happy about it. sorry, Uber Eats, you can change what your tip is after the fact. All right, 9:23. There's Nick, Jimmy, Brian Edwards. A little bit later, I'm Gary. I'm Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
How much did you guys talk about this on the broadcast?
Turn it over to Mike Barron for his keys and some submersible takes.
Not mention
the
keys
keys
to the submersible. Did you learn anything, Kevin, about submersibles in the last 3 days?
We did not talk about it once.
He's under more pressure than.
No. Mornings with Sharp and Handley, the Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P, 1620, The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A fantastic July day on tap for Thursday. Expect mostly sunny skies in the morning with a few more clouds in the afternoon with just a light north breeze. Potential top 10 day with highs near 80. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
There's Unlimited Pro, Unlimited Obsidian, Unlimited Mini, Unlimited No
At
Limit.
Cox
Unlimited.
Mobile, we know other mobile companies have puzzling data plans. Shouldn't it be easier? That's why Cox Mobile has 2 simple plans. Choose between pay-as-you-gig or unlimited and change plans anytime. Finally, something that actually fits you. All while running on the network with unbeatable 5G reliability. Cox Mobile. We're different because you're different. Cox postpaid internet required 5G reliability is measured by Ookla LLC in the U.S. to H 2023. Results may vary. Not endorsement. Wi-Fi not tested. Other restrictions apply. Learn more at cox.com/mobile.
The longest radio commercial you can buy is 60 seconds. We don't know who made up this rule, but here at the Nebraska Lottery, we sure wish we had more time. You see, our popular Lucky for Life Ticket Snap promotion is back for 2023. And we have so many incredible prizes, 60 seconds is barely long enough to list them all. But we're going to try. So until July 10th, visit your nearest Nebraska Lottery retailer. Buy a Lucky for Life ticket and enter the voucher number online for a chance to win Nebraska football Skybox season tickets, regular Nebraska football season tickets, single game Nebraska football tickets, an incredible Nebraska football weekend experience in Lincoln, or tickets to volleyball day in Nebraska at Memorial Stadium. Lucky for Life top prize odds 1 in 30 million. Well, look at that. We made it after all. You know, when you've got prizes like...
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE.
It's your last chance to shop July 4th savings at Lowe's. Right now, save on select major appliances. And when you buy more, you save more. Get up to an additional $1,000 off select major kitchen appliances. Plus, right now, when you buy a Craftsman V20 string trimmer or blower for just $99, you'll get a select Bear tool free. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 7/12. Appliance savings vary based on purchase amount. Buy more, save more. Valid on appliances $396 or more. While supplies last. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, we got a little moral dilemma going on in our country with a DoorDash driver. He went to visit a residence in Texas. First of all, you don't have to accept every offer if you are a DoorDash driver.
Mm-hmm.
So this person bought a $20 pizza, and they went to the door, Of course, they have the Ring camera, so it catches everything. And
So the commercial tells me now.
they say thank you, and the DoorDash driver walks away, and he says, "You're welcome. I just want to say it's a nice house for only a $5 tip." And then he says, "F you," as he walks away. So the DoorDash driver cussed out a woman for a 25% tip on a $20 order. And the dude thought that because he was going to a nice house, he was going to get more. 25% is pretty good.
When you said that right away, 25%,
That is good.
that's a really good tip.
So we're now in the day and age of you're almost forced to tip. You know, you're at some places where you've never tipped before, they'll spin the screen around and like fill it in. And they go to like the Warner Park. Warner Park does that.
So Sunday, every stop we made, finally I had to get the kid a lemonade like right before we were leaving because he was thirsty. I didn't
$12.
I didn't tip on that one, but every other time I tipped because I felt like I should.
Okay, so dealing with DoorDash or Uber Eats. Now, Uber Eats, you can change the tip. You can go back in and change it. So this guy is lucky they got $5, but he said nice house for a $5 tip. F you.
Yep.
Should we be looking at tipping a DoorDash driver the same percentage? You know, if you give 20%, you give 25%, or tipping on the length it takes them where they're picking it up to deliver to you. Like if they're like, let's say here we're at 50th and Capitol and we order from Goldberg's.
Just bring it upstairs, please.
Let's say Raising Cane's down the street.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what, a couple of miles?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Are we tipping on the length or the percentage? Or if we get something from, let's say, Jams further down on Dodge delivered to the station, that's a little bit further. Percentage or length that you should be tipping on?
See, I'm still in the school of thought of percentage. That's just what I do. I'm just kind of trained to do it that way. So I would still say that. I think you have a point though about length. You know, when it comes to gas and everything, sure. If someone is going to make that jaunt, okay, maybe there's a little something extra in it. I think that's fair. I'd have no problem doing that. For people who maybe look at it that way, I think that's probably a good way of looking at it. I still am just percentage of the amount is how I go about it. But length should probably factor in.
I think you have to think about length.
I think you do.
Like if somebody only comes like half a mile to deliver you something, you still giving a percentage or you giving the length? Like if they have to come further, I'm probably going above 20%.
Well, it's the same thing when I go in order and carry out myself, when they flip that screen over, I do consider the thought that, well, no one's driving this. You're not like going from one end of the store to the other to deliver it to my table amongst other tables. So you're not my server. Why am I tipping you again? Okay, but I also don't want to be the guy that when you flip it back over and they realize that the total amount is the same as the total before they flip the screen to you, then I'm the cheapskate. Like, oh, nothing for the effort? Well, what did you do? I mean, seriously, like, what did you do other than take my order? Like, are we now supposed to tip for something like that?
Now.
But I do. I will fully admit, 90% of the time when that screen flips over, I put something down. I don't just say, nope, skip. I put something down because the damn thing is right in front of you. It's like, hey, you better do something or you're going to look like that guy.
Then they flip the screen around and they'll stare at you.
Yeah, they're like, really? Really? Hi, I just want my food. Because remember the day when you only tipped if you were actually like seated at a restaurant or you were having something delivered? Yeah. Now,
COVID changed things.
Yep, you go in, you do what you would normally do. You'd order at a window, you'd go to a McDonald's or whatever, you go up, you order your food, they give you a number, and before you put your card in, or after you put your card in, I guess, now you have the option to tip. And sure, it's good to do it, but we didn't used to do this. And now you feel like you're obligated to do it. You're right, though. It was COVID that changed it.
This guy thought he was going to a nice house, so he was going to get a bigger tip.
That's a you problem.
You got a 25% tip. You don't have to accept the the order as
Right.
the DoorDash person.
And the reason he probably accepted it is for that exact reason you said.
But
It's a nice neighborhood.
what this has done has started quite the debate, and tipping becomes a hot point, and it's become even more because of the cashless society and the screen turning.
Yep.
Are you also a guy that rounds up? You know, when you go to a grocery store and you do self checkout,
Yeah,
and
I
before
do.
you can get to like the next screen, it goes, "Hey, would you like to round up for the kids that don't have baseball gloves this summer?"
I do.
That's
Now
why they put it on there.
there's a few times though when I didn't even look at the total and it says, so then it like repeats like how much you added. It's like 2 cents. Like, yeah, enjoy my 2 cents.
Well, that kid is going to have a picture of a glove. Here is Dale, who actually works for DoorDash. Good morning, Dale.
How you fellas doing?
Good. How are you doing, my man?
Doing well. I'm working right now. I just wanted to make a little comment regarding the DoorDash situation. And what I'm thinking is that it's kind of twofold. First of all, the fella in Texas, how he handled that situation, that's bad business. You know, no matter what the situation is, you do not treat people that way. You know, it's a privilege that we have the opportunity to deliver to customers. And it's their priority or their prerogative to go ahead and tip us, you know, what they see feasible. But also, you know, I wanted to explain that the DoorDash, how it operates is sometimes you might get an order, and of course you have the opportunity to decline it. But it also, if you haven't figured out how the app or the system works, it can work against you. Because if you accept the offer and then you decline it later because it was either too far or not enough, you know, based on gas prices, things of that nature, they hold it against you, and your percentages go down. Even though that does happen, that's still not a reason to treat people the way that fella in Texas did. You know, that's unexcusable.
Hey,
you know that. So go ahead.
So Dale, let me ask you: should people tip on percentage or how far you have to go to deliver it?
Well, that again is twofold. You know, it's the customer's prerogative to be able to tip how they see fit. You know, it is their money. They do work for their money just like everybody else does. But, you know, I can understand someone being a little miffed if, for instance, I live in the Glenwood, Iowa area. And I've had to deliver from our area, from Glenwood to, you know, Plattsmouth, for instance. And, you know, if the number that comes up on my screen is $6, I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. It might cost me more than $6 in gas to go from here all the way over there. Thankfully, all the customers I've had in Plattsmouth have been lovely. You know, I have no complaints about them. So, but it's situations like that, you know, that's not being put out there. You know, it's two sides. It's two sides. Yes, it's a customer's prerogative, of course. But then again, you have to understand from the DoorDash driver's perspective, not every state do they have a minimum that they're getting made. So, you know, you may only get 2 orders if you do it based on time. You've wasted an entire hour to get $6. That's below minimum wage.
Hey, Dale, can I ask you this real quick? Because this actually comes from an email as well. And they said, admittedly, they've never ordered from DoorDash. They said, but isn't the delivery fee calculated partially based on the distance they are driving? Is that a thing?
Yeah, that is a thing.
Okay.
That is correct.
And do you guys get a cut of that?
As far as what I know, you know, as far as the logistics on that, I can't tell you one way or the other because I haven't dug in that far.
Gotcha.
So if I give you an answer, it might be inaccurate.
Okay.
But, you know, like I said, no matter what the situation is, that fella in Texas, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, is an idiot. That's bad business.
Good deal. Dale, thanks for the clarification. Here is a fellow delivery driver, Steve. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, boys. How are you doing?
Good.
So I do grocery delivery up here in the Twin Cities with Ship. So, they contract out with Target, Cub Grocery. So you actually have to go in, do the shop, check out, put it in your car, drive, and depending on in Twin Cities, I'm going anywhere from Minnetonka to St. Paul. It could be 15, 20 miles away. And a lot of the clients that we do drop off, I mean, a lot of them might do a flat $10 or a flat $5, but I was a little miffed at one. I had about a $350 grocery bill, and she only tipped me $3. So I didn't say anything. I didn't want to because I wanted to keep good business. But I think to be fair on the pizza, I think $5 tip is okay there.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, thanks for the call. Steve's probably
I
a
think,
better man than a lot of us
exactly.
would be.
I think Steve biting your tongue on that one. Good for you. I don't know if all of us would be able, but $3 and a $350 grocery tab. Yeah, that's light. That's light.
Ed says this whole discussion about tipping. I have this with my 2 kids who are in the food service industry. Tip is earned with exceptional service, not just service.
I don't disagree with that. Now, the amount of tip. Because if you're providing a service that would typically require a tip, I'm tipping you. But if I get, say, $150 check at the table, I didn't think the service was great, I'm also not going to be that guy who's like, here's $1. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't be that guy.
Mike writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, this a-hole needs to remember tips are optional. I worked as a waiter for 15 years and understand my income was based on service and the generosity of people, good or bad.
Yeah.
Here is Doug or Don. You choose what you'd like to be called. All right.
I'm sure my name's Doug.
Okay, good. Hey, Doug.
Hey, it resonates with me when you talk about flipping that screen over. I've got season tickets to the College World Series, and a lot of those concession stands are run by volunteers. And they get a cut. We used to do it when our kids were young, but there was airmen they were hosting one, and then another fundraiser for a softball team, and they flipped the screen over. And I said, "Do you guys get the tips, or does it stay with the venue?" They said they don't get the tips. If you tip on there, so I was giving them cash. We have season tickets. We go to practically every game, but I would tip those guys in cash. But turning that screen over, people aren't afraid to ask for anything. So, but sometimes you just got to use your best judgment.
Yeah. Should they put out tip jars for the, the non-for-profits that work concession stands? Remember when they used to do that?
Right.
Yep.
Oh. Hey, Doug.
I didn't see any of those.
No, I didn't either. They probably were not allowed.
And good for you to make sure that it went to the right people.
Yeah, that just slayed me when and they whatever. But I appreciate what people do, and I did that for years to help my kids through all their sports and stuff. It's kind of fun doing it, but still, it'd be nice to be rewarded.
Yeah.
Doug, thanks for the call. Tom writes in, hey, Gary and Nick, I also feel like you guys being guilted into a tip when they spin the screen around, but I have a revelation and feel better about not tipping on these occasions. If you are tipping someone for literally just turning around the screen at the counter, you are undermining or putting on the same level actual servers, people like bartenders, waitstaff, haircutters, who perform actual service for said tip.
He's right.
And
He's right.
And I also always round up.
Yeah. He's right, though. I mean, I will tip on those more times than not on those screens, unless I'm just going through to get something that is less than $5. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Come on. But that screen, it beckons the tip. It's like, better do it or else you're going to look like a cheapskate. But he's right. If you have the thought process of like, wait a minute, how I normally tip, and when the occasions that I typically tip, this person is not providing that service, so why would I tip them?
So does Mecca, if the nonprofits that are working inside of the concession stand, and they don't have as many as they used to, because they have more, seasonal employees that I think are under the Mecca umbrella. But if you do have a concession stand like that, and this is probably a question for Marty, because they also have the tip, and a lot more of the concession stands at Warner Park are non-for-profits that come in. If it's not a non-for-profit, or non-for-profits are working the concession stand, but they don't get any of the tips, where do the tips go?
Who's getting
who gets the tips?
That's a great question.
because that is the whole thing of running a concession stand. Like look at a lot of the 4th of Julys.
Yeah.
You had teams that ran concession stands to raise money so they can travel in the winter or whatever they do. It's a good question. Thank you,
Great
Doug.
question.
Brian Edwards. We'll ask him about tipping. No, we will not tip. This tipping is one of those things that if you run out of conversation, how about that weather?
It's July.
How about those Huskers? What do you I think Creighton's going to do next year? What about tipping?
Oh my God. I got something to say about that.
56
What's that phone number again?
Chad writes in, I had a lady start yelling at me when she dropped off my food from Grubhub. She said that it wasn't enough money for the trip to my house. Chad lives out in the suburbs.
Okay.
I won't reveal where he lives. I was like, then don't take the trip, as you know how far it is before you sign up. I didn't get that one, which is true. You can decline it.
Yeah.
But I have started tipping on the distance.
I think that's a good thing to do.
But if the percentage is lower than how far they're traveling, I will add even more.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to do. That's something that I'm going to consider. But when we do DoorDash or Grubhub, it's because if something's going on with the kid, we can't really leave the house. We just want to get something quick. We always order based on something that's kind of close to our house because it just the thought doesn't even occur like, oh man, you know what? I'll see if I can get some Block 16 from downtown to come all the way out to, West Maple. Like that doesn't even occur to us because we're like, no. Well, first of all, by the time the food gets to our house, it's going to be cooler anyway. So yeah, we kind of go off of that.
Iowa JD, if you're that lazy in your life, you can't just get your own Taco Bell, then you should double your normal tip. Stop being lazy.
Thanks, JD.
All right, Brian Edwards is coming up next.
That was mean. JD. Come on, sometimes you just can't leave the house.
He likes to drive his caddy. Does Iowa JD strike you as a guy that owns a Cadillac?
Well, I was
blown away.
I remember seeing him briefly at the Cocaine Bear. So based on his tweets and our interaction, no, I didn't think he was a Cadillac guy.
He goes,
I didn't think it was a Cadillac guy.
When we were umpiring together, he goes, hey, I'll be the guy. I got my Cadillac. I'm like, you're a Cadillac guy?
Nice.
You're Iowa. Brian Edwards is next.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
Let It Fly Sports Bar is your elevated sports bar experience. Located in the Capital District in downtown Omaha, experience Let It Fly's unique brand of hospitality with 2 floors, 2 bars, 2 expansive outdoor patios, and an in-house podcast studio with live broadcasts of the Let It Fly show, hosted by me, Michael Severe, and Josh Jones. Host your next watch party, private event, or date night right here at Let It Fly Sports Bar. Now open.
Do you have big plans for your business? Get access and get growing. If you need a commercial loan or line of credit, the experts at Access Bank can help you get financing that fits your dreams. We're dedicated to supporting owners and entrepreneurs like you on a timeline that fits your schedule, because we're here for a reason, to help Omaha grow. Get started today at accessbank.com. That's accessbank.com. Member FDIC.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the Sweet Summer Sale, June 30th through July 10th, and get 30% off paints and stains with prices starting at $31.14. That means 30% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 30% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
When it comes to e-juice, 42 Degrees always promised that we would never sell any e-juice that wasn't manufactured under controlled conditions. We never mix juice ourselves or add nicotine. Why? Because we won't take a chance with your health. So when it comes to premium e-juice that tastes good, smokes great, and is available in disposable or bottles, then check out our e-juice department and find out why 42 Degrees is your source for all of your e-juice needs. Buy your mom's house.
This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal from Langfeld Overhead Doors gets you a half-horsepower chain LiftMaster door opener, one remote, and installation valued at $450 for only $225. A LiftMaster garage door opener with remote plus installation half off for $225 is this week's half-off deal.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Your home is the place where you know your loved ones are secure. But the things that keep your home protected can't keep pests at bay. That's where RAID comes in. For 60 years, RAID scientists have worked to protect people around the world. With trusted research, ingredients, testing standards, and product efficacy, RAID seeks to create a better future for all. Especially the ones you love most. RAID. Protection for all.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, time to talk to our good friend, Vegas Insider, the senior handicapper at VegasInsider.com, where they got a lot of great content up, including power ratings. It is Brian Edwards. Happy post 4th of July. Hope everything was safe and fun for you and the rest of the crew.
What's up, fellas? It was. So hope you all had a good one as well.
Hey, we noticed, because I think we read it on air yesterday, that you were one of the big donors to the swamp renovation project.
You keep winning. You keep winning. That's what happens.
Oh man, I was not, but I am. Well, I'm stoked that it's happening. I'm a little concerned of how all the construction is going to work. I mean, I know they're a little ways off from it, but that kind of can create a mess for like a year or two.
Well, as you know, that place definitely needs it. It's so strange that football has been neglected for the longest time in Gainesville in terms of facilities competing with the rest of the SEC.
Yeah, just another one of Jeremy Foley's many massive failures.
On cue.
Didn't
That is,
take
we
long.
now have a streak going. All right, so let's talk. First, let's talk a little football here, because Wisconsin has been a topic today because Luke Fickell shows up on CBS's Big Ten coaches rankings, and he's third. Hasn't coached a game in the Big Ten as a Wisconsin coach. As an interim, he's a 500 guy at Ohio State, but of course, what he did at Cincinnati. First, your thoughts on Luke Fickell as one of the top coaches in college football.
Oh wow, third overall.
Yes, he's by. It goes Jim Harbaugh, Ryan Day, Luke Fickell
Oh, in the Big Ten.
in the Big Ten. Yes.
Gotcha. I don't know that I don't think I would disagree with that. I'm just looking at all the Big Ten teams. James Franklin. Yeah. I'm not like gonna fight back on that. I like Luke Fickell as a coach a lot. He dipped into the portal for 14 transfers, so some new blood, and that was ranked 24th at 24/7 Sports transfer specific classes. I think they're going to have a big year. So they lost 3 one-possession games last year, but they were still salty on defense. Not quite as elite as they have been in the past, but only 20.2 points per game average. They had Illinois scored 34. Michigan State got 34 in a double overtime game. But other than that, everybody was 24 or fewer last year. So, and they've got 8 starters back on D, 10 on offense, 2 really good running backs. They've got their top 3 pass catchers back. Defensively, they've got their top 3 tacklers back. Phil Steele's national unit rankings has them every unit in the top 36.
Yep.
And linebacker number 6, O-line number 18, running back number 5. I think they win the West at plus 130. That's not a huge play, but I like that. And I also like over 8.5 at a minus 128 price. I see 9 wins. I see 3 swing games. Ohio State at home being one where they're a 10-point underdog. The other being at Illinois and the other at Minnesota. But I think they take care of business at home. should win at Indiana and at Purdue. At Washington State is a revenge game. Could be tricky out west, but that was one of their one possession losses last year, losing by 3.
Yeah, that 3-game stretch of Iowa, Illinois, Ohio State with 2 of the 3 at home on the bookends, I think is the key stretch for them. I like them to win the West. But I think there's going to be a lot of teams in the West Division, the final year of the West Division, that are going to win 5, 6, and 7 games. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger on them winning over 8.5, but I do like them to win the West.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know that anybody in the West is going to be that great unless Iowa finds a pulse offensively. I think Iowa will be great on special teams, and as usual, I think they'll be great on defense too. Only gave up 13.3 last year, 7 starters back on that side of the ball.
I threw this one at you late, and I just want to get your thoughts. And I know the win total is 6.5 for Illinois. That one is also, we're kind of talking about the different tiers of the Big Ten West, and it seems like you've got Nebraska, Illinois, probably Minnesota sort of in that second tier of teams trying to figure out what's kind of your early read on Illinois.
So I think the schedule works pretty good. I've got them losing to Penn State at home and at Iowa, and then 4 swing games at Minnesota, Wisconsin at home, at Maryland, and at Kansas. But those swing games, they could all be losses. Obviously, they do get 2 weeks to prepare for Minnesota. Let me see. Minnesota's got the week before that. They have got, Michigan State at home. So, I think I'd probably light lean to Illinois at 6.5 because I definitely see them getting at least 6, and then 4 swing games. If they can win at Kansas, I think they probably go over. I don't know that I'm going to bet it, but that would be my lean as the over.
All right, let's shift to UFC 290. So the lower weight classes get the run in Vegas this weekend. Let's talk about the main card. Rodriguez against Volkanovski. So I know that I've seen every video I see of Rodriguez is about this cardio that he is doing. And he's definitely proven his ability in the ring. But I'm trying to get a read on this. I think Alexander is too tough for him. How are you feeling on the main card in 290 in that matchup?
Yeah, I'll go 1 unit on two plays. I'll go the fight to not go to a decision at minus 118, and just two stats for that. Yair only 7 of 19 fights to decision. Volk 11 of 27 to decision. So I do think it'll be a competitive fight. I think Volkanovski is a little overpriced on the straight price, but it's so expensive. I wasn't going to take him on a straight price anyway. I just don't see anybody beating Volk at featherweight. He's in bounce back mode here after a very good showing in that very close loss to Makhachev as he went up weight to try to become the double champ. So I think he's going to get the finish, but it'll be a competitive fight. I'm thinking that it's finished in the 3rd or 4th, and you can get Volk to win inside the distance at plus 150 or plus 160 at a couple of offshores.
What about the flyweight, Pantoja and Moreno? What are you looking at that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Pantoja. He has won 3 in a row. He's already beaten Moreno twice. One was an exhibition, not toward the record at the Ultimate Fighter. He submitted him. Granted, that was 7 years ago, and then he also beat him 5 years ago. And that was when Moreno was a young pup. So I think it's probably kind of a toss-up fight. But, kind of like when I had Macy Barber 2 weeks ago, I thought it was a toss-up fight. If I can get a toss-up fight at plus 170, then you add in the factor that Pantoja's actually beaten this man twice. And Pantoja was, a little older at the time, but he's no, aging guy at 33, and this is the chance of a lifetime. This is the title shot he's been working for so long. So I'm going to go Pantoja plus 170. Not a huge play.
Hey, Turner Hooker's younger, but I can't pass up Turner at some of these odds. I think Hooker, some of the recent bouts have taken their toll. You like Turner a lot to end this.
Yeah, 9 of his 13 wins are by knockout. He's too overpriced on the straight price. That's actually getting up to 275, 290 range. But to win by KO is plus 200. And, we have seen Hooker. I'm not saying he's over the hill, but we saw him get knocked out by Arnold Allen. We saw him get knocked out by Chandler. Those were in the first round. I think those wars he had with Felder and Poirier really took their toll. And since the win over Felder, which was the fight of the night, he's only 2-4, and again been KO'd twice, and also submitted in the first round once.
And then I guess the last one we're looking at too at the middleweight, Whitaker and Duplessis. Which way do you see this one?
Yeah, Whitaker has won his last 6 wins are all by decision. Now Duplessis, only one of his 21 career fights has gone to the judges' scorecards, but I think Whitaker's got that style where he moves in and out real shrewdly, slickly, however you want to describe it. And it's only a 3-round fight. So I'm going to go Whitaker to win by decision. What was that, plus 200?
Yep.
I know I tweeted that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plus 200. I'll go with that because, again, Whitaker, too overpriced on the straight price. Minus 375 to minus 400, but to win by decision plus 200, I'll put a little on that.
Hey, after 22 years, we'll get chatted on this. Robbie Lawler, this is it for him. Saturday night in Las Vegas. How will the MMA world remember Robbie Lawler?
What an absolute legend! If you're a fan of his, just go back on my Twitter account. Like 2 days, I did like 5 tweets about him. Some epic bloody pictures as well. Absolute legend and class act. I'm tempted to take him at plus 220 because Nico Price is a winnable fight for him, but Father Time's undefeated. And so I'm aging fighters. I don't like to back. But he could win this fight. Nico Price is a brawler. And so is Robbie. So it should be a really fun fight. Not a, aging guy going out, moving in slow motion. I think that'll be a fun fight.
Yep. Hall of Fame induction, all of that stuff. I agree with you on Lawler. B, have a great weekend. Enjoy the UFC card, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, fellas. You have a good one.
That's Brian Edwards, our Vegas Insider. You can follow him on Twitter at Vegas B Edwards. Good card, especially for the lighter weights on tap in Vegas this weekend for UFC, where they'll turn on the Sphere. And you don't know what's going to be in it. I want to control the $2.3 billion thing that is in Vegas that had an eyeball on it yesterday, which you can see from space.
Mm-hmm. Sphere was a movie in the late 90s, and that was kind of creepy. So, yeah, when I saw that, I was like,
Sphere.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman. It might be a Josh Hudson question, but yeah.
Well, that does not ring a bell.
Hey, by the way, he can't hear us because he's out in the hallway. Have we fixed the mic?
No, this is it. It's going to have to be that other one.
Okay, so put that over there.
Yep.
And then leave that for
Make
him.
sure
then he'll just explode here in
Yes.
about 5 minutes.
Okay.
It'll be great.
It'll be crossover gold.
See you tomorrow.
Stand by for that.
Tomorrow, we will. The Major League Baseball draft is coming up this weekend. Before, I would say, the third round is over, Matthews, Anderson, Bovey, all will be selected.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
That is.
But it's kind of that weird, legacy of where were you in 2023 in terms of the NCAA tournament? I know. Especially all the hardware that Max and Bryce have racked up. But they're going to be gone early in the draft. And that's great because 2 of the guys are Nebraska guys. Max being from Millard West and Bovey being a Hastings.
To not have one of the, I get 2 of them are teammates, 2 of those guys are teammates, but not having one of that group in the postseason.
Absolutely. We'll get into the Major League Baseball draft, and Zelensky from Prospect Journal will join us tomorrow, among other things. Mike Schaefer as well, who was the only person to put in a crystal ball that Ja'Cory Barney was going to say yes to Nebraska. And so we'll let Schaefer have his 15 minutes of fame on the air. He
deserves that.
Anytime that he asked a question, say, Barney. And
you know what? He'll be as humble as pie on that.
Enjoy your threads, everybody. Hopefully Twitter stays alive for another day. John Schreiner's in for Connor. Crossover's coming up next.
Live from the host